If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you know that movies from that era followed a pretty simple rule. The good guy was always 100% good, and the villain was a total jerk, no in between. And the perfect example of that, The Karate Kid. On one side, we had Daniel LaRusso, the nice, slightly unlucky kid just trying to find his place in a new town. On the other, Johnny Lawrence, the blonde bully from the Cobra Kai dojo who made everyone's life miserable. We rooted for Daniel, cheered for the crane kick, and hated Johnny with everything we had. End of story. Right? Wrong. More than 30 years later, Cobra Kai came along and turned everything upside down. Suddenly, Johnny wasn't just the bad guy anymore. And maybe Daniel wasn't quite the saint we thought he was either. The show doesn't just bring back that iconic rivalry, it gives depth, heart, and complexity to the other side of the story. And since this franchise has meant so much to me and remains one of my all-time favorites, I decided to go all in. A full video covering the entire timeline, from the very first Karate Kid movie to everything that's happened so far in Cobra Kai. So get ready, because today, we're revisiting this legendary story from beginning to end. Here we meet Daniel LaRusso, a kid from New Jersey who moves to California with his mom and is already jinxed with having to start his senior year from scratch. He promises his mom he'll make an effort, but his sour face doesn't hide his resentment about the move. He barely arrives at his new apartment building when he bumps into Freddy, his first friend, after kicking open a door with a wonky karate kick. The first hassle is a broken pipe, which is how he meets the maintenance man, Mr. Miyagi, who has the peculiar hobby of catching flies with chopsticks. Miyagi seems a bit impatient, but promises to fix it. Later at a beach party, Daniel lays eyes on Allie, the head cheerleader who becomes his instant crush. But the night sours when her ex-boyfriend, Johnny, shows up with his Cobra Kai motorcycle gang. Johnny, who clearly isn't over the breakup, smashes Allie's radio. Daniel, playing the hero, tries to defend the damsel and ends up getting his ass kicked, since Johnny is a black belt in being an asshole and in martial arts. The humiliation continues at school. During soccer tryouts, one of Johnny's cronies delivers a criminal tackle on Daniel. He retaliates with a punch and gets kicked off the field. To make matters worse, on his way home, the gang surrounds him again and sends him flying down a hill on his bike. Filled with rage, he throws the bike in a dumpster and tells his mom he wants to go back to Jersey. The next day, surprise, the bike is fixed. It was Mr. Miyagi who takes the opportunity to teach Daniel how to prune bonsai trees as a form of therapy. At the Halloween dance, Daniel shows up in a shower costume made by Miyagi. Yes, a shower, and even gets a dance with Aoi, but the joy is short-lived. After a prank, he goes to clean up in the bathroom and finds Johnny and his crew. Daniel tries to get some wet revenge with a hose, but the plan backfires and he ends up being chased. The Cobras corner him and begin a serious beatdown, as Johnny prepares for the final blow, yelling, "No mercy!"
Enemy deserves no mercy. Right! Right! Right!
Mr. Miyagi appears and in the blink of an eye thrashes all 5 guys as if he were sweeping the sidewalk. Shocked by the old man's skill, Daniel begs him to be his teacher. Miyagi agrees to help, and the two head to the Cobra Kai dojo for a civilized chat. But the sensei, John Kreese, is a war veteran who teaches his students to be killing machines. Kreese rejects the peace offer and demands that Daniel fight Johnny right then and there. Miyagi then proposes a deal. They will face each other at the All-Valley Karate Tournament, and until then, the Cobras will leave Daniel alone. Kreese, who loves a challenge, accepts. The training begins, and the first lesson is washing and waxing a dozen classic cars. Daniel doesn't get it, but Miyagi insists. Circular motions, wax on, wax off. In the following days, the chores continue. Sanding the deck, painting the fence, painting the house. Daniel gets pissed, thinking he's become Miyagi's gopher. When he finally explodes in frustration, Miyagi tells him to show him the moves. Suddenly, Miyagi attacks, and Daniel, almost by instinct, blocks everything using the same motions from the chores. The penny drops. The cleaning was the training all along. With his confidence renewed, Daniel has his first official date with Ollie, and discovers her family is filthy rich. He feels super embarrassed, but the date is a success. The training continues, now with balance exercises on a boat at sea, where he sees Miyagi practicing a bizarre move he calls the crane technique. But the drama returns when Daniel sees Johnny forcing a kiss on Ali at a fancy country club. Devastated, he leaves and doesn't see Ali. and she, furious, punched Johnny in the face. Later, Daniel finds Miyagi drunk, celebrating his wedding anniversary with his deceased wife. He learns that Miyagi's wife and son died in a Japanese-American internment camp during the war, and that his master is a decorated war hero. This moment deepens the respect between them. On his 18th birthday, Miyagi gives Daniel one of his classic cars and the confidence to sort things out with Ali. He finds her, learns about the misunderstanding with the kiss, and they get back together. The day of the tournament arrives. Daniel, to everyone's surprise, advances through the rounds, even defeating some Cobra Kai members. Seeing this, Kreese, the villain of the year, orders one of his students to cripple Daniel with an illegal blow. The plan works, and Daniel is taken to the locker room, too injured to continue. Desolate, he thinks it's all over. But after his mom and Ali leave, he asks Miyagi to use his acupressure technique to heal his leg, insisting he needs to face his fears. Miyagi agrees. Daniel returns to the arena at the last second, limping. The final is against Johnny. The score is tied 2-2. In a desperate move, Daniel gets into position, strikes the crane pose Miyagi taught him, and wham! A perfect kick to Johnny's chin. He wins. To the roar of the crowd, even Johnny congratulates him and hands him the trophy. Daniel celebrates, looking at a proud Mr. Miyagi in the audience. In the second film, John Kreese, the evil sensei, is pissed that Johnny lost to Daniel. He humiliates Johnny in the parking lot, breaks his trophy, and nearly chokes him out. The guy is a textbook villain. Mr. Miyagi, who is passing by, saves Johnny and shows Kreese who's boss. Miyagi dodges 2 punches like he's Neo in the Matrix, making Kreese shatter his knuckles on a car window. To top it off, instead of a finishing blow, Miyagi gives Kreese's nose a little honk. Epic. After that, Johnny and the whole gang quit Cobra Kai. 6 months later, Daniel's life isn't easy. His girlfriend Ali dumped him for a football player. To make matters worse, he was about to have to move. But Mr. Miyagi, the best friend anyone could ask for, offers his home for Daniel to stay in. But then a letter arrives. Miyagi's father is gravely ill in Okinawa, Japan. Daniel, of course, decides to go with him. Along the way, Miyagi spills the tea from his past. He and his best friend Sato fell in love with the same woman, Yukie. To avoid a fight to the death, Miyagi skipped town. Arriving in Okinawa, they are greeted by Chosen, Sato's nephew, and Sato is still holding a decades-long grudge, itching for a fight. Miyagi ignores him, but the tension is thick. They reunite with Yukie, who never married because she still loved Miyagi. And to top it all off, we find out that Sato has become a mega industrialist who basically owns the entire village and exploits the locals. Meanwhile, Daniel meets Kumiko, Yukie's niece, and there's an instant spark. Miyagi's father dies, but not before asking him and Sato to make peace. Sato grants 3 days of mourning, but the beef with Daniel only gets worse. Daniel discovers that Chosen has been cheating the villagers, which leads to several brawls. It all comes to a head when Chosen challenges Daniel to break 6 blocks of ice. With a bet on the line, Daniel focuses and shatters the ice, leaving Chosen furious. The rivalry truly heats up when Chosen and his gang destroy Miyagi's family dojo and attack Daniel. When a typhoon hits the island, the story gets turned upside down. Miyagi and Daniel rescue Sato, who was trapped under the rubble. In an act of gratitude, Sato disowns his nephew Chosen for refusing to help rescue a little girl. With the main villain out of the picture, everything seems resolved. Sato asks for forgiveness, returns the land titles to the villagers, and everyone celebrates at the Obon festival. But Chosen, now completely unhinged and driven by revenge, crashes the party, takes Kumiko hostage, and challenges Daniel to a fight to the death. Daniel takes a serious beating, but when all seems lost, he uses the drum technique Miyagi taught him. He turns the tables, defeats Chosen, and instead of killing him, repeats his master's gesture. He gives his nose a little honk, showing he's learned the lesson of mercy.
Wrong.
9 months have passed since Daniel LaRusso won the tournament, and John Kreese's life has gone to shit. Humiliated, broke, and an alcoholic, he's lost all his students, and the Cobra Kai dojo is deserted. Down in the dumps, he seeks out the only friend he has left, Terry Silver, a war buddy who got filthy rich from shady business dealings and who, by chance, is the original founder of Cobra Kai. Kreese wants to hand over the keys and disappear, but Silver has a better plan. He sends his friend on an all-expenses-paid vacation to Tahiti and promises promises an epic revenge to make Daniel and Mr. Miyagi pay. Meanwhile, Daniel and Miyagi return from Okinawa to find they've been evicted. The building was sold, and now the beloved Mr. Miyagi is unemployed, and Daniel and his mother are basically homeless. To help, Daniel, ever impulsive, has an idea. Use his college money to open a bonsai shop for his master. Miyagi is against it, but Daniel doesn't listen and rents a rundown space. Silver wastes no time and recruits a new terror to torment Daniel, Mike Barnes, the bad boy of karate. The deal is simple. If Barnes beats Daniel, he gets 50% of the new Cobra Kai dojo chain, and to seal the deal, Kreese makes a sinister request. He wants Silver to make Daniel's knuckles bleed. The harassment begins. Barnes and his gang raid the shop, wreck the place, and even assault Jessica, Daniel's new friend. Later, they steal all of Mr. Miyagi's bonsai trees and leave behind a tournament application. The low point is when they corner Daniel and Jessica on a cliff, force him to sign the application, and, in an act of pure evil, break Mr. Miyagi's most precious bonsai tree.
Make a wish.
Devastated and feeling abandoned by Miyagi, who refuses to train him for a tournament, Daniel falls for Silver's trap. The villain pretends to be an ally, lies that Kreese is dead, and offers to train him. Slowly, he turns Daniel into an aggressive fighter, culminating in a scene where Daniel breaks a guy's nose at a nightclub. That's when it hits him. Daniel realizes his mistake, apologizes to Miyagi, and goes to break things off with Silver. The villain drops the good guy act, reveals that Kreese is very much alive, and that it was all a setup. A brawl breaks out, but Miyagi arrives and wipes the floor with both villains. Now, he will train Daniel for real. At the tournament, Silver's strategy is to torture Daniel. Barnes scores a point, then commits an illegal foul to lose the point, and so on. In the end, Daniel is terrified, but Miyagi delivers the most iconic line of the movie. It's okay to lose to opponent, must not lose to fear. Daniel finds himself again, performs the kata, wins the match, and becomes a two-time champion. Silver and Kreese are humiliated, and Daniel and Miyagi end with a victorious hug. And now we finally get to the Cobra Kai series. I admit I was pretty hyped to make this video. In the present day, Johnny's life is pretty depressing. He lives alone, has a terrible relationship with his son Robbie, and gets pissed off every time he sees a billboard for Daniel's car dealership. To top it off, he tries to flirt with a woman and gets shot down, called disgusting. At his job as a handyman in a luxury apartment complex, he's humiliated by a client and ends up getting fired. Later, he stops at a convenience store to buy a pizza and sees his teenage neighbor, Miguel, getting beaten up by some bullies. The guys throw Pepto-Bismol on Miguel and shove him into Johnny's car. That's when he snaps. Johnny goes after them and uses his old-school karate to wipe the floor with the attackers, but the fight ends with him getting pepper sprayed in the face and arrested.
Hey, it's not his fault!
The next morning, a super enthusiastic Miguel asks Johnny to teach him how to fight, but Johnny refuses. At home, his rich stepfather Sid offers him money to disappear, but Johnny tears up the check. Alone and drinking, he sees a commercial for LaRusso's dealership and explodes with rage, throwing a bottle at the TV. Drunk, he goes for a drive and starts reminiscing about the past, his Cobra Kai friends, his ex, Ali, and how Daniel ruined everything. The nostalgic trip is cut short when a car full of teenagers hits his Firebird and takes off. His car ends up getting towed to LaRusso's dealership. The next day, Johnny tries to pick up his car discreetly, but Daniel spots him and greets him cheerfully, even joking about the illegal kick he landed on him at the tournament. Despite the tense atmosphere, Daniel offers to fix the car for free. As Johnny is leaving, he realizes Daniel's daughter was in the car that hit him. That's the last straw. Johnny takes the money from his stepfather and decides to reopen the Cobra Kai dojo to teach Miguel real karate.
I'm gonna be your sensei. You'll strike back.
While Johnny's morning was a disaster, Daniel's is perfect, set to the sound of Dean Martin. He wakes up happy in a mansion, makes breakfast for his kids, and drives his Audi S7. But the piece ends when he drives by a strip mall and sees the sign for the new Cobra Kai dojo. The past has come back to haunt him. Johnny, now clean-shaven and sober, gives Miguel his first lesson, and it's nothing like the kid expected. The first lesson of Cobra Kai is strike first, and Johnny demonstrates by attacking Miguel by surprise. When Miguel uses his asthma inhaler, Johnny throws it against the wall, saying weakness does not exist in this dojo. Shortly after, a health inspector shows up, but Johnny manages to bullshit his way out of it by claiming Miguel is an illegal immigrant, not a student. Meanwhile, Daniel and his wife Amanda are at a fancy party. Daniel vents to her about his concerns over Cobra Kai's return. When they get home, they find a surprise. Sam is throwing a pool party without permission. Daniel is furious and kicks everyone out. Amanda warns him that if he keeps acting this way, he's going to push his daughter away. At the dojo, Johnny puts Miguel on cleaning duty, but unlike Mr. Miyagi, the chores have no secret karate lessons. It's just manual labor. Miguel lies to his mom, telling her he's in a debate club, since she disapproves of violence. At school, Miguel befriends nerds Dimitri and Eli and develops a crush on Sam, but he's intimidated by her boyfriend, Kyler. Things get worse when Kyler comes over for dinner at the LaRussos. He not only scoffs at the sushi Daniel prepared, but also tells a distorted version of the fight he had with some karate guy at a strip mall. Daniel immediately figures out it was Johnny and goes to confront him at the dojo. The two argue, and Daniel warns Miguel not to listen to Johnny. The rivalry is officially back on, with the two facing off just like in the old days. Cut to Miguel's house. His grandma thinks he's, let's say, entertaining himself in his room, when in reality, he's just practicing karate. During dinner, the family discusses his Halloween costume. Meanwhile, Daniel's paranoia about Sam's dating life reaches its peak. He goes so far as to spy on her texts, and upon reading that Kyler has something big to show her at the school dance, he decides to volunteer as a chaperone to keep an eye on the couple. At school, the bullying is rampant. Aisha, Sam's best friend, is snubbed by her new popular friends because of her weight. Meanwhile, Johnny is broke and desperately trying to promote Cobra Kai, but his attempts at handing out flyers are a total failure. His luck changes when Miguel creates a website for the dojo. Impressed, Johnny decides to teach Miguel his first kicking lesson in a pretty radical way, by tying his hands and throwing him into a swimming pool until he figures it out. For the dance, Johnny gives Miguel a skeleton costume identical to the one the Cobra Kai members wore in the 80s. At the dance, Daniel sees Miguel's costume and is instantly triggered by the past. He starts following the kid but finds a Cobra Kai flyer and leaves to confront Johnny. On his way out, he catches Sam with Kyler in an empty room and completely misinterprets the situation, thinking they were doing something more intimate. Sam is furious. To make matters worse, Yasmin posts a cruel meme about Aisha, who leaves the party humiliated. Later, in the locker room, Miguel and his friends run into Kyler's gang who start bad-mouthing Sam. Miguel, remembering Johnny's teachings, goes on the offensive and lands a perfect kick on Kyler.
You're gonna pay.
But the victory is short-lived. The entire gang surrounds Miguel and beats him brutally. The episode ends with Johnny finding his student lying battered and bruised on the locker room floor. Here we meet Robbie, who seems more like a professional scammer than a student. He manages to steal a customer's laptop and sells it online with his delinquent friends. Along the way, he grabs a Cobra Kai flyer, sees his dad Johnny's face, and reacts with pure disgust. Meanwhile, Johnny, after dropping off a beaten-up Miguel at home, goes out to get wasted. He gets pissed when he sees a LaRusso billboard and has a brilliant idea. Trade his beer for a can of spray paint and draw giant penis on Daniel's mouth. The next day, Daniel is furious about the art on his billboard. He suspects a rival dealership that even sent him 100 hot dogs as a prank. Daniel goes to confront him and, in classic Karate Kid fashion, spin kicks the guy's cup out of his hand. At home, Miguel's terrified mom forbids him from training anymore. Johnny tries to play the concerned father and goes looking for Robbie, who has no interest in going back to school. He then looks for his ex, who tells him the hard truth. It's too late to be a dad. There are no do-overs in life. Elsewhere in the valley, Sam is out with Kyler, but gets uncomfortable watching him and his gang bully Miguel. At the movies, Kyler tries to f*** her up, but Sam shoves him off and breaks up with him. Later, she makes up with her dad. Full of regret, Johnny goes back and begs Miguel's mom, promising he won't fail the boy. She eventually gives in. The sensei's new lesson: the best defense is more offense. To cap it all off, Daniel finds the Cobra Kai flyer on the vandalized billboard and immediately knows the masterpiece was Johnny's work. The war is officially declared. Miguel's training is now on hard mode. Johnny has him dodging baseballs shot from a pitching machine. The dojo isn't making any money, so to pay the bills, Johnny has to sublet the space at night to a yoga class. Meanwhile, Daniel goes into full villain mode. He has dinner with with the owner of the property where Cobra Kai is located and convinces him to jack up the rent, all to drive Johnny out of business as revenge for the billboard. Meanwhile, Sam is feeling down because her friends, Yasmin and Moon, are ignoring her texts, tired of being bullied. Aisha shows up at the dojo wanting to sign up. Johnny is reluctant to train a girl, but Miguel convinces him. To test her, Johnny tells Miguel to attack her with full force. He takes her down, but Aisha gets back up, charges at Miguel, and finishes him with a knee strike, proving she's a natural-born Cobra.
Sorry. Oh my god,
Sam confronts Yasmin and finds out that Kyler spread a nasty rumor, saying she gave him a job at the movies. Sam, shocked, cuts ties with both of them. With the rent sky high, Johnny tries to sell his belongings with no luck. His wife, Amanda, discovers Daniel's revenge plot and is furious, telling him he's stooping to Johnny's level. The drama explodes in the school cafeteria. Kyler taunts Sam about the rumor, and Miguel steps in to defend her. Kyler shoves him, and that's when the magic happens. Miguel uses his karate and utterly demolishes Kyler and his entire gang.
It's Cobra Kai.
The video of the fight goes viral, and Cobra Kai is flooded with new students. Johnny, proud, gifts Miguel his old gi. Robbie sees the scene from a distance and, driven by revenge, gets a job at the LaRusso dealership. Daniel visits Mr. Miyagi's grave, reflects on balance, and decides to return to his roots. He puts on the iconic giant headband and begins to practice the Miyagi family kata. A quick flashback takes us to 1979, where a 12-year-old Johnny discovers the Cobra Kai dojo. Back in the present, the dojo is packed with new students, but Johnny thinks they're all a bunch of nerds and losers. He picks on Eli for the scar on his lip, nicknaming him Lip. Eli's friend Dimitri doesn't like it, challenges the sensei, gets taken down with one move, and quits the dojo on the spot. Meanwhile, Daniel is back to training but feels alone, since no one in his family wants to join him. At the dealership, his cousin Louis tries to pull a prank on Robbie, which almost causes an accident. Daniel scolds him, Robbie quits, but Daniel catches up to him, apologizes, and even corrects his fighting stance, creating a connection between them. In science class, Miguel and Sam are paired up, and sparks start to fly. At the dojo, with fewer students, Miguel confronts Johnny. "You don't know what it's like to be us." This hits Johnny, who has a flashback of his stepfather humiliating him. Later, Robbie goes to Daniel's house to deliver a report, another one of Louis' pranks, and finds him practicing kata. Intrigued, he accepts Daniel's invitation to learn. The next day, Johnny changes his tune at Cobra Kai. He admits his mistakes and says the dojo can empower the students. At that exact moment, Eli returns, but he's not the same person. With a blue mohawk and a badass attitude, he has flipped the script. Johnny approves and gives him a new nickname, Hawk. A legend is born.
Welcome to Cobra Kai. Wait, you the kid with the lip? Nice cut, bro. Hawk. Fall in.
Robbie's training begins in classic Miyagi-Do style, waxing cars, washing windows, sweeping floors. Basically, he's become the dealership's handyman. Robbie gets frustrated, thinking he's not learning anything, but during a training session, Daniel shows him that all those chores were meant to build muscle memory. Classic. Meanwhile, at the Cobra Kai dojo, Johnny is pissed because his students are a bunch of limps who flinch at every threat. His solution? An exercise where they have to punch each other in the face to get over their fear. Super safe. Miguel uses a break to ask for dating advice about Sam, and Johnny drops this gem. All hot babes want to date a Cobra Kai. He even sees an ad for the All Valley tournament, but thinks the crew isn't ready yet. Robbie's life gets complicated when his old friends show up. They want Robbie to get the dealership's security code so they can steal car parts. The kid refuses, but they threaten him. With no way out, he ends up recording Amanda typing the password on her phone. At school, Miguel puts Johnny's plan into action and asks Sam out. She's a bit hesitant after the whole Kyler mess, but Miguel is so persistent that she agrees to a friendly hangout. Speaking of hangouts, the Cobra Kai crew gives some ideas, and Hawk suggests a tattoo parlor, taking the opportunity to show off his new look, a giant hawk with a blue mohawk tattooed on his back. Real subtle. But the conversation is cut short when Johnny finds out that Cobra Kai has been permanently banned from the tournament. Later, Robbie refuses to hand over the code to his ex-cronies. He uses the karate he's learned to defend himself, but gets surrounded. He's saved when he points points to a security camera, making the thugs flee. At the same time, Miguel and Sam have their date at Golf and Stuff, a carbon copy of Daniel's date with Ali in 1984. The chemistry is there. They kiss, and the night is a success.
The movie's really hard, so if you don't get it on the first time, don't feel bad.
To wrap things up, Johnny goes to the tournament committee to try and reverse the ban and runs into who else? Daniel, who is now on the board. Johnny gives a heartfelt speech explaining that the new Cobra Kai is different and that he's trying to be a better person. Despite Daniel's protests, the committee votes in favor of Cobra Kai. Johnny and Miguel end the day celebrating their victories. The new Cobra Kai training is just insane. Johnny takes his students to a junkyard, gives a motivational speech to the sound of "We're not gonna take it," and to top it all off, unleashes a pack of hungry German shepherds on them. It's the Johnny teaching method.
So are they. No fear.
At the LaRusso house, it's a family reunion with the arrival of Lucille, Daniel's mom. She immediately starts trash-talking Cobra Kai, remembering when they pushed Daniel down a hill, but Sam, who knows Miguel, isn't so sure. The conversation heats up and turns into a full-blown argument between Amanda and Lucille over Louis, Daniel's schemer cousin. At the dojo, Johnny is only training Miguel, who he believes is the only one with a chance to win. When he sees a selfie of Sam on the kid's phone, it all clicks. She's Daniel's daughter. He then tells Miguel his version of the 1984 story, where Daniel was the villain who stole his girlfriend. The message is clear: watch out for the LaRussos. Inspired by a talk with Miguel's mom, Johnny decides it's time to clean up his apartment and his life. Meanwhile, Robbie goes to train at Daniel's house and meets Sam for the first time. Daniel takes Robbie to train in the woods, and the kid almost tells him the truth about his father but backs out. He finishes the session by balancing on a log and even catches Daniel trying to execute a super powerful two-legged kick that not even he has mastered.
Mr. LaRusso?
At the movies, Miguel vents to his friends about not being able to see Sam. Hawk, ever the source of great advice, suggests he just show up at her house, an alpha move. Speaking of moves, Johnny goes to his stepfather's house, returns all the money he's ever received, and cuts ties for good. The drama unfolds when Miguel decides to follow Hawk's advice. He arrives at the LaRusso house and sees Robbie talking with Sam. His heart shatters on the spot. To make everything worse, while Johnny is at home writing an apology letter to Robbie, his car is vandalized and set on fire by Louis and his goons, supposedly on Daniel's orders. Johnny is enraged, gets Daniel's address from Louis, and takes off on a motorcycle to settle the score. Robbie is killing it on his skateboard, and after several attempts, he perfectly balances on one arm, just like he saw Daniel do. The training is paying off in unexpected ways. Meanwhile, Daniel is enjoying his morning coffee peacefully, until he sees Johnny in his backyard, looking for a fight. Johnny accuses him of having his car burned. Daniel denies everything, but the argument escalates. The situation only avoids turning into a brawl right there because Amanda, the true hero of the story, shows up and suggests they settle their differences over breakfast. It's during this discussion that the LaRussos find out Sam was involved in the accident that wrecked Johnny's car months ago. To make up for it, Amanda convinces Daniel to give Johnny a used car from the dealership. At school, Miguel is still down in the dumps. Hawk suggests he fight Robbie, but Dimitri tries to talk some sense into him. After another cyberbullying attack from Yasmin, Aisha gets the brilliant idea to crash her birthday party. At the dealership, Johnny picks out a 2009 Challenger and insists on a test drive. Since Louis got fired, Daniel has no choice but to go with him. In the car, the two start singing "Take It on the Run" by REO's Speedwagon, and the mood lightens. They stop by Daniel's old apartment, go to a bar, reminisce about the past, talk about Ali, and even make fun of her husband on Facebook. Who would have thought these two could be friends? Meanwhile, Sam is grounded from all electronics because of the accident. Robbie shows up to train, but since Daniel isn't there, he has to wait. Seeing Sam's frustration, Robbie comes up with a plan. He pretends to sprain his ankle, and Amanda asks Sam to drive him home. Outside, he reveals it was all a lie just to get her out of the house, and the two rush off to the party. At the party, Aisha gets her revenge on Yasmin with an atomic wedgie in front of everyone. When Sam and Robbie arrive, Miguel, drunk and blinded by jealousy, shoves Robbie and accidentally hits Sam. Furious, she says her dad was right about Cobra Kai and leaves. Back at the LaRusso house, a drunk Johnny and Daniel arrive, ready for a final match in the dojo, only to find Robbie there. The bomb drops. Johnny finds out his son is Daniel's new student. He loses control, shoves Daniel against the wall, and breaks one of his trophies. Robbie steps in between them to defend Daniel. Johnny leaves in a rage, and Daniel, feeling betrayed by the lie, kicks Robbie out of his house and his life. The scene ends with Daniel picking up the pieces of his broken trophy. The All-Valley Arena is on fire for the 50th anniversary of the karate tournament, all to the sound of Queen's "I Want It All." Outside, the Cobra Kai students wait for their sensei. Bert, the smallest of the bunch, recounts seeing Johnny drunk at a convenience store, cursing out Daniel and Robbie while, get this, peeing on his own car. Just as they're about to enter without their sensei, a sober Johnny appears to give them one last lesson: no mercy. Meanwhile, at the LaRusso house, Daniel and Sam are in a major funk. Amanda snaps them out of it, reminding them that their dealership is one of the sponsors, and they need to be there. And it's at the tournament that Daniel receives a hero's welcome. During the dojo introductions, Cobra Kai marches in formation, chanting the dojo's name. And last but not least, Robbie appears, having entered on his own, lone wolf style.
We have Cobra Kai, 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 Cobra Kai. We have Mr. Robbie King.
Miguel's first match starts with a controversial move. He uses the crane kick, the same one Daniel used to beat Johnny in '84. Daniel's face is priceless. Robbie, Hawk, and Aisha also win their first fights. Hawk even takes off his GI talk to show off his tattoo to Moon. But Aisha ends up losing to the reigning champion, Xander Stone, and tells him to eat shit when he tries to be friendly. In the semi-finals, Robbie faces Hawk. Daniel, even from a distance, helps Robbie find his balance. Then, Hawk loses control, attacks Robbie from behind, injures his shoulder, and gets disqualified. Johnny rushes to help his son, but Robbie refuses. In the locker room, Daniel comforts Robbie, who admits he only wanted to get revenge on his father. The final is Robbie versus Miguel, with Daniel officially serving as Robbie's Miyagi-Do coach. The tension is thick. Robbie, despite his injury, fights bravely, but Miguel fights dirty, targeting his injured shoulder. Johnny even tries to ask Miguel to fight clean, but the kid throws it in his face that it was his own sensei who taught him that winning is all that matters. Miguel attacks the shoulder again and wins the tournament. The victory is bitter. Johnny feels guilty. Robbie accepts his apology and leaves with Daniel. To top it all off, Daniel decides he won't let Cobra Kai dominate the valley and reveals he's opening a new Miyagi-Do dojo. And as Johnny stews in his guilt, alone in his dojo, who shows up? His old and terrible sensei, John Kreese.
Congratulations.
Kreese tries to convince Johnny to let him back into Cobra Kai. Johnny immediately refuses, remembering the time Kreese tried to strangle him for losing to Daniel in '84. It's a flashback that's painful just to watch. Meanwhile, Miguel's mom, Carmen, notices her son is becoming more aggressive but still trusts Johnny. On the other side of town, Daniel starts teaching Robbie the history of Miyagi-Do, planning to officially open the new dojo, even with his wife Amanda being a bit skeptical of the idea. Johnny, weighed down by guilt, reprimands Miguel and Hawk for the dirty tactics they used in the tournament. He's trying to fix the mess he created. The series shows a perfect parallel. While Daniel welcomes Sam into his dojo, Johnny tries to reconnect with Robbie, but the attempt goes horribly wrong. Robbie throws it in his face that Daniel is a much better man than he will ever be. It's a gut punch for Johnny, who is left completely devastated. And it's in this moment of weakness that Kreese strikes. He shows up with a story about being a changed man, apologizes for the past, and, like a snake, manages to convince Johnny to let him into Cobra Kai as a second sensei. Johnny, desperate for any validation, falls right into the trap. The fox is officially in the henhouse. With both dojos now in full swing, the rivalry only intensifies. A heartbroken Miguel tries to text Sam, but she completely ignores him. Meanwhile, Daniel is training Robbie and Sam, but Amanda is already fed up, complaining that he cares more about karate than his work at the dealership. At Cobra Kai, Johnny returns to his training methods, which are basically a survival test. He has his students push a cement truck to strengthen their legs. It's a crazy stunt that of course impresses Kreese, who watches it all with a cynicism sinister smirk on his face. Daniel's relationship with Robbie grows even stronger when he invites the boy to live with them, acting as the father figure Robbie never had. Seeing this, Daniel decides it's time for a serious talk and goes to the Cobra Kai dojo to confront Johnny, but who he finds there is Kreese. The old sensei doesn't miss the chance to provoke him, mocking Mr. Miyagi's death and delivering the line that defines everything. He tells Daniel that the fight between them is inevitable. War has officially been declared. There's no turning back. Johnny finally discovers what a computer is and immediately stumbles upon a YouTube ad for Miyagi-Do. In it, Daniel promotes his karate for free and, of course, takes a jab at Cobra Kai. The ad actually works, attracting 2 teenagers, but the joy is short-lived. When Daniel drops the classic wax on, wax off, the kids think it's slave labor and run straight to Cobra Kai. Gen Z has no time for philosophy. They just want to fight. Meanwhile, Miguel finds out Robbie is Johnny's son and confronts him. Johnny then opens up. On the day Robbie was born, his own mother had just passed away. Afraid of being a father and without the only person he loved, he just froze and failed his son on day 1. But he swears he won't fail Miguel. Later, at the Valley Fest, the Miyagi-Do team, Daniel, Sam, and Robbie, puts on a peace and love demonstration. But suddenly, Cobra Kai crashes the stage with a much cooler performance, full of energy and acrobatics. They completely steal the show, leaving Miyagi-Do in the dust and winning over the entire crowd.
Cobra Kai! Cobra Kai! Cobra Kai! Cobra Kai!
Dimitri, seeing that all his friends have become karate kids, decides to try his luck at Cobra Kai. The experience is terrible. He gets his ass kicked by Kreese and decides the path of peace is better. The result? He ends up enrolling in Miyagi-Do. At the evil dojo, a new student emerges, Tori. The girl is a total badass, going toe-to-toe with Miguel in skill and quickly befriending him and Aisha. Miguel, who's no fool, starts to worry about Kreese's influence, but Johnny reassures him, saying everyone deserves a second chance. Little does he know, Daniel, on the other hand, is struggling to find new students. To make matters worse, Sam makes a new enemy, Tori, who humiliates her at a party. Seeing the situation, Robbie comes up with the brilliant idea of staging a fight with his old friends to go viral and attract people to Miyagi-Do. The plan backfires, and he ends up taking a real hit to the head. Daniel arrives to save the day, but asks Robbie not to post the video. He explains that students should seek out Miyagi-Do out of necessity, not because of a viral video. We finally understand Dimitri's plan. He wants to learn karate so he can stand up to Eli, who has now become the school bully. The conflict escalates when Hawk sees a negative review Dimitri left about Cobra Kai on Yelp. Yes, the fight started over an internet review. Hawk goes after Dimitri at the mall, but Sam and Robbie show up to save their friend and teach the Cobra Kai team a karate lesson. With their help, Dimitri even starts to improve his skills. Hawk's life, on the other hand, goes from bad to worse. Moon, his girlfriend, breaks up with him over his violent behavior. Sensing an opportunity for revenge, Kreese, like a fallen angel whispering in Hawk's ear, suggests he vandalize Daniel's dojo. Meanwhile, Miguel and Tori start a romance, and Carmen convinces Johnny to set aside his rivalry with Daniel, but the peace is short-lived. The next day, Daniel finds Miyagi-Do trashed, Mr. Miyagi's Medal of Honor stolen, and his classic car vandalized. Blind with rage, he goes straight to confront Johnny. The chaos is so great that some Cobra Kai students, disgusted by the situation, leave the dojo and join Miyagi-Do. Johnny makes everyone do burpees until someone confesses, but the training is interrupted by a call from an old friend. Meanwhile, at Miyagi-Do, the mood is tense. Dimitri and Robbie can't stand Chris, a newcomer from Cobra Kai who had previously attacked Dimitri at the mall. To calm things down, Daniel drops a bombshell. He reveals that he was once a member of Cobra Kai and recalls the conflict he had with Terry Silver before the '85 tournament. The lesson of the day is that the dojo is bad, but not all the students are, which convinces the group to make peace. Far away, Johnny hits the road to San Bernardino to meet up with his old crew, Bobby, Tommy, and Jimmy. The reunion is bittersweet, as Tommy is terminally ill. Johnny vents that he reopened Cobra Kai with Kreese, and Bobby advises him to move on. Speaking of Kreese, in Johnny's absence, the evil grandpa takes over and makes the training much more aggressive. Miguel doesn't like it one bit and confronts him, but Kreese just replies that mercy is useless in the real world. Elsewhere, Tori opens up to Miguel, revealing that her aggression comes from a difficult life, where her waitress mother was fired for taking home leftovers to feed her kids. Johnny's trip with his friends ends in the worst way possible. After a night of camping, they wake up to find that Tommy died in his sleep. Kreese goes to Daniel to lay it all out. He's going to train Cobra Kai for the war that's coming against Miyagi-Do. Daniel protests, saying they're just kids, but Kreese couldn't care less. Back from his trip, Johnny takes his students into the woods for a game of Capture the Bandana. During the game, he gets pissed off by Tori's aggression. In the middle of the chaos, Miguel notices Hawk is wearing Mr. Miyagi's Medal of Honor. He realizes immediately that Hawk was the one who vandalized the LaRusso's dojo. Hawk then taunts Miguel about Sam, and the kid's patience runs out. The two throw down, and Miguel comes out on top, recovering the medal, but the celebration is cut short when a new adult Cobra Kai student, a guy named Stingray, appears out of nowhere and snatches the bandana from Miguel.
You know the thing about stingrays is the red team just won!
Seeing how far things have gone, Johnny warns Miguel not to follow Kreese's dark path. Later, Miguel goes to the LaRusso house to return the medal and runs into Robbie and Sam, who have started a romance. He gives the medal to Robbie, asking him to return it to Daniel and say he's sorry. Robbie, afraid this will ruin his new relationship, hides the medal and keeps the secret. Realizing that Kreese hasn't changed at all and is corrupting his students again, Johnny kicks him out of Cobra Kai. Johnny is daydreaming about Carmen, but reality hits hard when he finds out she has a boyfriend. After kicking Kreese out of the dojo, he completely changes his training philosophy, teaching his students about mercy and honor. Meanwhile, in the LaRusso's backyard, Dimitri finds the Medal of Honor that Robbie hid. Robbie's plan was simple: prevent Sam from having any reason to talk to Miguel again. Speaking of Miguel, he decides to play Cupid and creates a dating profile for Johnny. The dates are a comedic disaster, and in the end, Johnny ends up messaging his ex, Ollie. The night becomes a stage for teen drama as Miguel and Tori, and Sam and Robbie, go on separate dates at the same mall. The tension between the two girls explodes at the roller rink. Tori shoves Sam, who retaliates with a leg sweep and ends up getting kicked out along with Robbie. At home, Daniel apologizes to his wife, probably for his whole Cobra Kai obsession. And to top it off, Johnny finds out Carmen's boyfriend was planning to break up with her, teaches the guy a lesson, and with a clear path, finally asks Carmen on a date. Robbie's mom reappears to apologize to her son, revealing that her boyfriend left her and she's going to rehab. Meanwhile, the Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai crews get together at a party hosted by Moon, right before the start of school. There, the rivalry between Sam and Tori reaches a new level when Tori sees a drunk Sam kissing Miguel. Sam had just found out that Miguel returned the Medal of Honor to Robbie, and sparks flew. Hawk isn't having a great day either, furious that Moon is now dating a girl named Piper. His beef with Dimitri heats up even more after Dimitri humiliates him in front of everyone. The two dojos are about to turn the party into a battlefield, but the police arrive and send everyone home. In another part of town, Johnny and Carmen are on a romantic date when, out of nowhere, Daniel and Amanda show up at the same restaurant. While the women are away, Daniel and Johnny talk about dealing with Kreese, and Johnny even thanks Daniel for enrolling Robbie in school. The two couples end up getting along, and it seems the rivalry has finally come to an end. But the peace is short-lived. When Johnny gets home, he finds Robbie and a completely drunk Sam at his door. Johnny, being cool about it, lets Robbie and Sam crash at his place to hide from the LaRussos. But when Daniel finds out, he goes to Johnny's apartment, and the two get into a huge fight, causing a furious Daniel to cut ties with both Johnny and Robbie. On the first day of school, Stingray manages to get a job as a school security guard. Robbie confesses to Sam about the Medal of Honor trick, but before she can tell him about the kiss with Miguel, Tori hijacks the school's PA system and exposes the cheating for everyone to hear. The revelation shocks the entire school, especially Robbie. Tori goes after Sam, and within seconds, the school descends into chaos, with a massive brawl between the dojos.
It is on!
In the midst of the mayhem, Dimitri successfully defends himself against an unhinged Hawk. Sam, in turn, manages to defeat Tori, even as she tries to use a spiked bracelet to injure her. Miguel gets the upper hand on Robbie, but at the last second shows mercy. Robbie, blinded by rage, doesn't accept it and kicks Miguel over a balcony, leaving him paralyzed and unconscious.
The difference between mercy and honor, and I paid the price for it.
After the tragedy, Robbie flees. Carmen breaks up with Johnny, and the Cobra Kai students, blaming Johnny for teaching Mercy, side with Kreese, who reveals he is the new owner of the dojo. To make matters worse, Amanda demands that Daniel shut down Miyagi-Do. Devastated, Johnny abandons his car, throws away his phone, and disappears. Little does he know that on the other side of the world, Ali has just sent him a friend request on Facebook. 2 weeks have passed. Miguel is in a coma, dreaming that he's fighting for his life in the next All-Valley tournament. The school brawl has become national news, with reporters calling it a violent karate clash, and parents panicking about karate gangs. At a school meeting, the board completely bans karate in a sort of footloose of martial arts vibe, leaving Daniel and Amanda furious over Sam's 2-week suspension, while Tori, who nearly tore her face open, was only expelled. Meanwhile, Johnny has hit rock bottom. Drunk at a bar, he picks a fight, gets beaten up, and ends up in jail. In his cell, a cop taunts Johnny about Robbie, and he learns that Miguel's condition is critical. At school, Sam is haunted by flashbacks and can't handle the pressure. Hawk tries to act popular with the new girls, but is humiliated, while Dimitri is now respected. Daniel discovers Robbie has stolen a van from the dealership and goes after him. As for Johnny, after being released, he comes up with a bizarre plan to visit Miguel in the hospital. He headbutts a napkin dispenser to fake being a patient. He manages to reach Miguel's bedside and gives a moving speech, begging him not to give up.
Never give up. Never give up. You can do this. I know you can.
Daniel goes to the Cobra Kai dojo looking for Johnny, but only finds Kreese, who taunts him. Finally, Daniel and Johnny meet. Putting their rivalry aside, they team up to find Robbie. As a montage shows Sam facing her fears, Miguel, as if hearing his sensei's voice, wakes up from the coma. We go back to 1965 and meet a young John Kreese working as a waiter. He takes crap from a preppy jerk named David, who's with his girlfriend, Betsy. Betsy is the only one who treats Kreese well. David and his friend mock an army recruiter and then humiliate Kreese, intentionally knocking his tray over and laughing in his face. Later, Kreese sees David hitting Betsy, steps in, and already knowing how to fight, beats the abuser up. Back in the present, Kreese gathers the Cobra Kai students and promises revenge for what happened to Miguel. Speaking of whom, Miguel has woken up in the hospital, and the first thing he wants to know is, where's Johnny? But Johnny is busy on a mission with Daniel to find Robbie. Their first stop is a rehab clinic where Robbie's mom is in treatment and gives them a clue about her son's old friends. At the dojo, Kreese conducts a psychopath test. He presents a cute little mouse and tells the most sensitive student, Bert, to feed it to a snake. The boy can't do it, and Kreese kicks him out along with everyone else who felt sorry for the mouse. Hawk even questions the decision, but Kreese is focused on creating a team of champions without weaknesses. Meanwhile, Tori is missing because she's taking care of her sick mother and being threatened with eviction by her creepy landlord. Kreese shows up, pays her rent, and then scares the landlord with a cigar cutter, solving the girl's problem through intimidation. At the hospital, the doctor tests Miguel's legs, but he feels nothing. The news is devastating, and Miguel sees his mother break down outside his room. Later, Johnny manages to sneak in to see the kid, who, crushed, tells him he might never walk again. Feeling betrayed for showing mercy and ending up in a hospital bed, Miguel tells Johnny to leave.
Get out of here.
Miguel, you can't leave.
Get out of here!
To complete the trifecta of betrayals, Daniel finds Robbie and tries to convince him to turn himself in, but the police arrive right at that moment. Robbie feels betrayed and is arrested, telling Daniel to stay away. A completely drunk Johnny decides that the church service of his childhood friend Bobby Brown, who is now a pastor, is the perfect place to vent. He starts airing Bobby's dirty laundry in front of everyone until the pastor sweeps his leg in the middle of the church. Sobering up, Bobby advises Johnny to get his life together and help Miguel and Robbie. Meanwhile, the LaRusso dealership is in crisis. Rival Tom Cole wants to buy it out and has even made a deal to cut off Daniel's supply of Japanese cars. Amanda is already considering selling, but Daniel, inspired by a lesson from Mr. Miyagi, decides to fight. He even rehires Anush, who had gone to work for Cole. In juvie, Robbie is provoked by a bully named Sean, who makes fun of him about Sam. A fight is inevitable, and Robbie ends up getting beaten badly. To help Miguel, who needs an expensive surgery, the Miyagi-Do crew organizes a car wash, but Hawk and Mitch don't like like the idea. They attack Nathaniel, who had the money, steal it all, and beat him up. Johnny tries to get a job, but his history as a brawler doesn't help. He turns to his rich stepfather, Sid, who refuses to give him the money. With no other choice, Johnny steals a valuable item from his stepfather's house, sells it, and gets the money for Miguel's surgery. He stays at the hospital during the operation and ends up missing visiting hours for Robbie, who feels even more hurt. With Daniel traveling to Japan to solve the problem with his suppliers, Sam decides it's time for Miyagi-Do to start training again in secret. Daniel has ended up in Japan to try to save his dealership, but the meeting with Doyona is a failure. Not knowing what to do, he follows a bartender's advice and travels to Okinawa, Mr. Miyagi's homeland. The place is changed, now a giant shopping center, but in the midst of it all, he gets a surprise. He runs into Kumiko, his old teenage crush.
Daniel-san?
Back in the US, Kreese continues his villain training at Cobra Kai, with Hawk standing out as the top student. At school, the rivalry is boiling. A jealous Hawk destroys Dimitri's science project. Later, a soccer game turns into an all-out brawl. The principal, fed up, sends everyone to her office. But as usual, only the Miyagi-Do kids get in trouble, which infuriates Sam. Kreese, with his inflated ego, tries to recruit Johnny back to Cobra Kai, but gets rejected. Plan B, visit Robbie and Juvie and start planting the seeds of evil in the boy's head. Meanwhile, Johnny tries to help Miguel get up to reach his phone, but the result is disastrous. Miguel falls out of bed and hits his head. In Okinawa, Kumiko takes Daniel for a highly emotional moment. She shows him love letters that Mr. Miyagi wrote to her aunt, Yukie. In the last letter, written shortly before his death, Miyagi talks about how proud he was of Daniel and how he had become part of his family. The scene is tear-jerking and gives Daniel a new idea, but just when everything seems calm, their conversation at a bar is interrupted by none other than Chosen, Daniel's old rival. The beef from the past is back.
Daniel-san.
Chosen.
Kumiko quickly explains that she was the one who called him, and that he's changed. He's a good guy now. Meanwhile, in California, Johnny wants to apply his unconventional physical therapy to Miguel, like waving a men's magazine in front of him to see if he'll get up from his wheelchair. Obviously, Carmen isn't a fan of the idea. At the juvenile detention center, Kreese tries to recruit Robbie for Cobra Kai, but gets shot down. Still, he gives him a piece of advice: strike first. Back in Japan, Chosen takes Daniel to the original Miyagi-Do dojo and reveals a secret. Mr. Miyagi didn't teach him everything. He demonstrates a pressure point technique that can incapacitate an opponent. Basically, Miyagi-Do's hardcore mode. At Golf and Stuff, the conflict heats up. Hawk and the Cobra Kais are causing trouble, and Chris, who works there, calls Miyagi-Do for backup. The fight starts, and Daniel's team has the upper hand until Tori shows up. Sam freezes on the spot, terrified of a repeat. The tide turns, and Hawk, pressured by the others, breaks Dimitri's arm.
This isn't over, LaRusso.
The look of regret on his face is clear, but the damage is done. To wrap things up, Amanda goes to confront Kreese and slaps him across the face. Robbie earns the respect of the prison bullies for not being a snitch, and we get two happy endings. Daniel discovers that Yuna, the little girl he saved in the typhoon, has become a powerful executive and saved his dealership, and Miguel, at a rock concert with Johnny, finally moves his foot to the beat of the music. Now we go back in time, straight to Vietnam in 1968. We learn the origin of evil. A young Kreese is recruited by his captain for a special ops team and begins to learn Tong Soo Do. In the present, Kreese is recruiting new athletes, including Kyler and Brooks, the same guys who used to bully Hawk and Miguel. Hawk is pissed at the idea of having his old tormentors on the team. Meanwhile, Daniel returns from Japan ecstatic, but Amanda throws a bucket of cold water on him by telling him about Dimitri's broken arm. They try to go to the police, but Kreese was faster and already had a restraining order against Amanda for the slap. Plan B, pay the landlord triple to evict Cobra Kai. At the dojo, things get ugly. Kyler, even without training, defeats Mitch, who is expelled by Kreese. Next, it's Hawk's turn to fight Brooks. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and with a brutal beating, Hawk destroys Brooks so savagely that even Tori is shocked. In the midst of all this, Johnny is trying to impress Ali on Facebook with Miguel's help. During an argument about Johnny losing the dojo, something incredible happens. Miguel takes his first steps. The moment is so emotional that Johnny, when replying to Ali, ends up sending a simple and lame, not much you. To make matters worse, the eviction plan goes completely wrong. The landlord's buff nephews get their asses kicked by Kreese, who calls Daniel to mock him and adds that he left a little present at the dealership, a real live Cobra. Sam is trapped in a nightmare, with Tori trying to drown her. The trauma is so severe that she tells Daniel she wants to quit karate. To try and help, Daniel takes her fishing and tells her about how he himself almost quit out of fear during his fight against Mike Barnes, back in The Karate Kid Part 3. The story inspires Sam not to give up, and in the end, the fishing trip was just a cover for a secret Miyagi-Do training session. Meanwhile, Miguel's recovery is going great. He's already walking and returns to school, where he wastes no time confronting Hawk for his bully behavior. Johnny, for his part, is trying to find a place for his new dojo, but has to settle for a public park. After much thought, he names the team Eagle Fang Karate. Yes, eagles don't have fangs, but it's the attitude that counts.
Welcome to Eagle Fang Karate.
Eagles don't have fangs.
Johnny goes to the school to recruit students and gives a sincere speech about his mistakes, managing to convince a few to join him. Kindness seems to be slowly making a comeback. Even Yasmin, the former mean girl, draws something nice on Dimitri's cast, but the peace doesn't last. At Eagle Fang's first class in the park, who shows up? Kreese, Tori, Hawk, and the rest of Cobra Kai. Kreese makes a threatening offer to Johnny, who immediately refuses. The promise of more trouble is in the air. Here, we see Daniel and Johnny starting their training again, each with their own style. They both go to pick up Robbie from juvie, still bickering about Kreese, but Robbie couldn't care less about them. He tells them both to stay out of his life. A total cold shoulder. At least things are looking up for Miguel and Sam. They meet at school and decide to get back together. And look at that. Yasmin and Dimitri are a couple now too, even if she denies it in front of everyone.
Yasmin?
Hey,
Like I would ever date this freak.
I am 101% in love.
But then comes the bombshell. The city council has canceled the All-Valley tournament to discourage violence. Since Daniel is a two-time champion, he might be able to reverse the decision, but he actually thinks it might be a good idea. Sam, however, disagrees, saying that Miyagi-Do's bad reputation won't help anyone. No one wants this tournament more than Miguel, who is struggling to train and sees the competition as a chance to prove himself. He's furious when Johnny says he wouldn't let him fight anyway, even though it's to protect him. Meanwhile, Robbie runs into Tori at the probation office and starts to think that Sam might actually cheat on him, just as a bitter Tori insists she will. At least Carmen understands Johnny. She goes to his apartment and confesses that, although she blamed him for what happened to Miguel, she now knows it wasn't his fault. She reaffirms that being a sensei is Johnny's calling, and that he needs to save the tournament, because there are other Miguels out there who need him. And so, Daniel, Johnny, and Kreese show up at the city council meeting. Kreese speaks first, playing the war hero and blaming Miyagi-Do for the violence. Daniel and Amanda are furious, and Amanda even gets kicked out for interrupting. Johnny and Daniel try to team up against Kreese, but end up fighting each other, almost proving that the tournament should indeed be cancelled. But at the last second, Miguel and Sam appear. They give an emotional speech, asking for a safe place to compete. The council is convinced the tournament is back on.
The All Valley Under 18 tournament is officially back on.
But the peace is short-lived. Robbie sees Sam and Miguel together at the dojo and goes after Miguel. Sam intervenes, proving that this rivalry is far from over. At least Johnny's night ends well. He and Carmen kiss and go straight to the bedroom. Meanwhile, Robbie ends up exactly where Kreese knew he would, at Cobra Kai. Ollie's mom comes home and asks if her daughter is going to meet up with the old gang. And yes, she has plans.
Oh, honey, it's so good to have you home for the holidays.
You don't have to worry about me. I have some plans.
On the other side of town, Johnny and Carmen wake up together after the night before. The mood is good, but she has to go to work. Alone, Johnny sees a notification on his computer. Ollie has invited him to lunch. He accepts immediately. Meanwhile, at Miyagi-Do, Miguel and Sam are getting close again. He asks about an Okinawan drum. She challenges him to a training session, and suddenly, they're on the floor, kissing. The romance is back in full swing, until Daniel shows up and ruins the moment. Over at Cobra Kai, Robbie has already settled in. Kreese drops his mantra, "The enemy of your enemy is your friend. Hawk and the others are not happy about his presence. Tori starts training Robbie, teaching him to use his hatred, and inviting him to hang out with the crew after school. At lunch, Johnny and Ollie reminisce about the old days. Back at Miyagi-Do, Sam defends Miguel to a skeptical Daniel. After school, the Cobra Kais, including Robbie, go to the zoo. The mission? Steal a snake as a gift for Kreese. And who manages to grab the animal? Robbie himself. Daniel and Miguel finally have a serious talk. Daniel tells his side of the story with Johnny, leaving Miguel shocked. Elsewhere, Johnny and Ollie recreate the scene of her first date with Daniel at Dolphin Stuff, a major nostalgia trip. Kreese is proud of Robbie for the snake and adds some poison, telling him that Miguel and Sam are training together. Tori is blinded by rage. At the LaRusso house, Sam and Miguel have an idea: unite Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang. Their rivalry no longer matters. The real problem is Cobra Kai. The night ends at a party, where Johnny sees Ollie hugging Daniel. The scene triggers a flashback to the first movie, showing that the students' rivalries are just a mirror of the endless beef between Johnny and Daniel. We see a flashback to Vietnam in 1969. A young Kreese is a POW forced to fight his comrades to the death on a platform over a snake pit. He watches one soldier kill another and is horrified. Back in the present, Daniel, Ollie, and Johnny meet up at a bar. The vibe is super awkward, but Amanda is enjoying the ex-couple drama. At the LaRusso house, the attempt to merge Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang is brutally interrupted. Cobra Kai invades the house, and an all-out karate war breaks out. Tori goes straight for Sam, who overcomes her fear and fights back hard after Tori smashes a picture of Mr. Miyagi. The turning point is Hawk. Seeing Kyler beating on Miguel, he has a change of heart. He no longer wants to fight alongside the bullies who tormented him. Hawk switches sides, saves Dimitri, and the two fight together.
Hey, yo, Hawk. Free shot.
Miguel recovers and knocks out Tyler. The alliance of good guys wins the battle. At the party, Ollie acts as a therapist, making Daniel and Johnny realize they're more alike than they think. They finally start to see eye to eye, but the peace is short-lived when Johnny arrives at Carmen's apartment to find a battered Miguel. The flashback returns. Kreese's captain reveals that his girlfriend, Betsy, died in a car crash, just to mess with his head before a fight. Kreese volunteers to fight in place of a terrified comrade. In the present, a furious Johnny storms the Cobra Kai dojo and attacks Kreese. Robbie tries to intervene, but Johnny accidentally shoves him into a locker, knocking him out. And in another utterly brutal flashback, Kreese, just as he's about to be tossed into the snake pit, manages to turn the tables. His captain begs for help, but Kreese, remembering all the humiliation, stomps on his hand and lets him fall to his death, saying, "No mercy."
No mercy.
In the present, Daniel arrives and saves Johnny from being choked out. He uses the pressure point techniques he learned from Chosen to incapacitate Kreese. Just as Daniel is about to finish him, Sam and Miguel arrive. Cornered, Kreese proposes a deal. They settle everything at the All Valley tournament. If Cobra Kai loses, he's gone for good. In one last flashback, we see Terry Silver promising Kreese a life debt. In the present, Kreese picks up the phone and calls an old friend. The final scene is epic. Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang unite, with Daniel and Johnny standing side by side, ready to train their new team.
Ready? Let's begin.
We cut to a man playing the piano in a luxurious mansion until he receives a call from an unknown number. It's John Kreese, greeting him like an old friend. The guy just hangs up on him. Back at the Miyagi-Do dojo, Johnny and Daniel announce a new era, the merger of their dojos to defeat Cobra Kai at the All Valley. But the partnership is a disaster from the get-go. Johnny's warm-up is a pure beatdown, while Daniel's is a dance where no one attacks. Their styles are like oil and water. Johnny makes the Miyagi-Do students wash his car and builds a makeshift obstacle course, while Daniel gets pissed when Hawk shatters a paper window during training inside Mr. Miyagi's house.
Wax off. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. Oh, shit.
Meanwhile, at Cobra Kai, Tori is taking out her anger on a punching bag, and Kyler is bragging about getting into college. Tori calls him pathetic, saying they would have won the fight if he hadn't dropped the ball. Their argument is interrupted by Robbie, who just needed a place to crash and is already on his way out. But Kreese has other plans. He manipulates Robbie, telling him he sees him as a king, not a pawn, and that he has more talent than his own father, Johnny. Meanwhile, Kreese visits the mansion from the beginning of the episode. The piano man is Terry Silver, his old partner. Kreese tries to recruit him for Cobra Kai, reminiscing about the old days. But Silver, who now lives a life of luxury with his girlfriend Cheyenne and hosts parties with vegan food, refuses. He says he's left that life behind him. In parallel, the union of Daniel and Johnny's dojos has already collapsed. They decide they can't teach together. But the students have a better idea. They team up to build a new training deck in the backyard, a literal bridge between the two styles. Seeing the students work together, the senseis agree to the project, but the peace is short-lived. The episode closes with Robbie, now convinced by Kreese, offering to teach Cobra Kai the secrets of Miyagi-Do, while Terry Silver, alone, reconsiders Kreese's offer and kicks a wine bottle against the wall. It looks like the villain squad is about to get stronger. We meet a new student, Kenny, who on his very first day of school becomes a target for bullying by Anthony LaRusso and his friends. Meanwhile, Daniel and Johnny decide to switch places. Each will teach their style to the other's group. It's like a wife swap reality show, but with karate. Johnny learns the defensive philosophy of Miyagi-Do, painting fences and balancing on a board, while Daniel faces the no PS training of Eagle Fang, which involves shovels of hot coals, punching boxes, and dodging baseballs from a pitching machine.
Move it, be aggressive. Attack. That's it, attack. That's what I'm talking about.
The beef between the girls heats up when Amanda confronts Tori at her job. The conversation turns into a threat. The manager shows up, and Tori ends up fired. To make matters worse, she yells to the entire restaurant that the cook dipped his in the soup. Later, Kreese finds Amanda at the supermarket and intimidates her, revealing Tori's difficult family situation and warning her to stay out of it. The bullying against Kenny also escalates. Anthony tricks him by pretending to be a girl named Leah and lures him into a trap at the park, where he's humiliated and filmed. Daniel's training with Eagle Fang culminates in a hockey game. Johnny provokes him to get more aggressive with a player in the penalty box. At the end of the game, the hockey players surround Daniel, ready for a fight. Johnny conveniently disappears. Using a mix of Miyagi-Do and his new Eagle Fang tricks, Daniel beats up the entire team. Johnny reappears with a pretzel in hand, praising Daniel's attitude and dropping Mr. Miyagi's line, "Best defense, no be there." Daniel is furious at being trolled.
Where the hell were you?
No be there.
The episode ends with a desperate Kenny telling his older brother Sean, who's in juvie, about the bullying and finding out one of the attackers knows karate. Sean says he knows a guy who can help.
I know a guy who can help.
The dojo merger finally seems to be working. Daniel and Johnny train the students together and even have a family dinner at the LaRussos. Everything seems peaceful, but we know this calm won't last. Across town, Terry Silver is haunted by flashbacks of the Vietnam War, remembering a promise he made to Kreese. Cobra Kai never dies. He decides to get back in the game, puts his hair in a ponytail, and heads to Kreese's dojo to announce his return. The dark partnership from the 80s is back. Meanwhile, the senseis swap students again. Daniel takes the Eagle Fangs to a pond and challenges them to catch a koi fish with their bare hands. After much trial and error, Miguel comes up with the idea of circling the fish, managing to catch one.
Walk in a circle. We have a winner.
Johnny, on the other hand, takes the Miyagi-Do students to the top of a building and challenges them to jump to the adjacent roof. It's an Assassin's Creed-style leap of faith. After much hesitation, Sam is the first to work up the courage and jump, inspiring the rest of the group.
Nice move, LaRusso.
The new kid, Kenny, tries to join Cobra Kai but is humiliated by Kyler. Robbie, seeing the kid's potential and remembering his brother, decides to train him in secret. He teaches Kenny to use his speed as a weapon. Before long, Kenny returns to the dojo and, in a surprise attack, lands a punch on Kyler, securing his spot on the team. In the end, Daniel presents Miguel with a Miyagi-Do headband, a symbol of perseverance. They bow to each other, but the camera focuses on Johnny, who watches the scene with a jealous look. The sensei's alliance is already hanging by a thread again. On a tour of West Valley High, we see Mr. Palmer showing the facilities to the new students, including Kenny. The place is a bit run down after the last karate brawl, so much so that the science lab got completely trashed. Leah asks Kenny what he thinks, saying she heard the school was haunted. He playfully pretends to be a ghost until she points out the food stain on his shirt. Mystery solved. In the bathroom, things get serious. Bert and Nate from Miyagi-Do spot Kenny's Cobra Kai shirt and start intimidating him. Kenny, remembering another fight, is ready to throw down, but suddenly Hawk appears and pins him against the door, like a scene out of a prison movie. Hawk gives him the rundown. Get out of Cobra Kai while you still can, because we're coming for you.
They're about to go down, and it's not gonna be pretty.
Meanwhile, at Miyagi-Do, Daniel and Miguel are training together, leaving Johnny looking like he just sucked on a lemon. He gets so distracted that Dimitri becomes his personal human punching bag for the day. Things get even weirder when Kreese announces a new partnership at Cobra Kai, with none other than Terry Silver, the dojo's co-founder. It's like Steve Jobs returning to Apple, but evil. Later, at the drive-in, the rivalry explodes. Kyler sends Kenny to get snacks, treating the kid like a pledge. When Kenny bumps into Hawk, the beef starts. Robbie defends Kenny, and soon both dojos are in a standoff. But instead of a fight, Miguel has a brilliant idea. He lures the Cobra Kais onto a baseball field. It's a trap. The sprinklers turn on, soaking everyone from Cobra Kai. Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang walk away laughing, having won the battle without throwing a single punch. To cap it all off, Kreese and Silver show up at Miyagi-Do's door, leaving Daniel looking like he's seen a ghost. Terry Silver arrives at Miyagi-Do looking like a saint, apologizing for all the past drama. But Daniel, who's no fool, knows it's all an act and doesn't buy it. The conversation heaps up, and they agree to hold off on the fighting until the tournament. Later, Daniel and Johnny go to a bar and, as usual, can't agree on anything. Johnny wants to use brute force. Daniel wants a strategy. The solution? The fight between them. The winner becomes the lead sensei of the alliance. Johnny, hyped up, even tweets about the fight, turning what was supposed to be a training session into an event. At school, Dimitri becomes the group's hacker and digs up dirt on Terry Silver, while Hawk shows up with purple hair, which, according to Moon, symbolizes enlightenment. Sam starts questioning her dad, saying she needs to learn Johnny's aggressive style to survive. Daniel, of course, hates the idea. Things get much worse when Cobra Kai decides to get revenge. They ambush Hawk at a tattoo parlor, hold him down, and Robbie, without mercy, shaves off his mohawk. Goodbye, Hawk. On the day of the decisive fight, the dojo is packed with people who saw Johnny's tweet. Daniel and Johnny face off in a point-for-point super close match. In the final round, they hit each other at the same time. It's a technical draw. Right after, Hawk, now just Eli, arrives at the dojo with his head shaved, showing them what happened.
Who did this?
Cobra Kai?
Johnny is livid and wants revenge immediately, but Daniel refuses to resort to violence. The argument explodes. They realize their alliance is a disaster, and Johnny, fed up, takes his Eagle Fang students and leaves. The merger is over. The All Valley Committee meets and decides to modernize things. There will now be a girls' division and a skills competition. Daniel loves the news, but Johnny thinks it's lame, complaining that kata is just choreography. The problem is, Eagle Fang has no female fighters. Meanwhile, Kreese and Terry Silver already see themselves as double champions. Tori's life turns into a living hell when her aunt shows up demanding her mother's disability money and threatens to take custody of her little brother. With no other choice, Tori swallows her pride and asks Amanda LaRusso for help. Johnny and Miguel go on a nearly impossible mission: find a female fighter for Eagle Fang. Their attempts are a comedic disaster. They try to recruit Moon, who suggests Piper, a gymnast. Johnny even manages to convince her, but Cobra Kai, with their slick new uniforms, poaches her. At the same time, Dimitri goes after Eli, formerly Hawk, who's in a funk after losing his mohawk and wants to quit karate. Dimitri makes an emotional appeal, showing him an old video of them and reminding him of their binary brothers' friendship. The nostalgia works, and Eli returns to Miyagi-Do.
Look who decided to come back. It's good to see you, Eli. Or is it Hawk?
Feeling the pressure, Johnny and Miguel remember a tip from Bert and go to watch a school debate. There, they find Devin, a girl with a very short fuse who rips her opponent's book in half mid-speech. Johnny is amazed. He's found his champion. Things really heat up when Sam, after a talk with her old friend Aisha, confronts Tori at school. Fearlessly, she sends a clear message. She's not running anymore and is ready for anything. War has been declared. At school, Anthony LaRusso, Daniel's son, tries to flirt with a girl named Leah. We can already see he didn't get his dad's charm. Soon after, he and his friends decide to bully Kenny, stealing his Cobra Kai sweatshirt. Kenny chases them down the hall in his underwear, becoming the laughingstock of the entire school. Basically, Anthony has become the very bully his father hated. Meanwhile, Miguel tells his mom that Johnny is pushing Eagle Fang too hard for the tournament. Johnny and Carmen plan to tell Miguel they're together, but the kid is smarter than they think. He finds Johnny's headband in his mom's room and figures it all out. When they tell him, Miguel is cool with it and says he's happy for them. Daniel finds the Cobra Kai sweatshirt with Anthony, who bald-faced lies, claiming he's the one being bullied. Daniel, being Daniel, falls for it and decides it's time for his son to learn karate. Little does he know, at Miyagi-Do, Anthony's training is to clean bird poop off Mr. Miyagi's cars, but the kid pays someone else to do it. Daniel is pissed, and Anthony disrespects Miyagi's memory, leaving his father deeply disappointed. At Cobra Kai, Silver and Kreese teach a lesson on exploiting an opponent's weakness, complete with a sparring competition for beer. Over at Eagle Fang, Johnny introduces a new student, Devin, a super sharp girl who even gets his movie references. Their training is pure chaos, fighting with one arm, throwing dirt in each other's eyes, and taking kicks to the groin. The episode's climax is Kenny's revenge. He sets an ambush in the school library, turns off the lights, and hunts the bullies one by one, horror movie style. The party only ends when a teacher flicks the lights on and catches Anthony and Kenny in the act. Later, in the principal's office, Daniel and Amanda discover the whole truth. Their son is the aggressor, and he's suspended. The look on Daniel's face, realizing he's raised a monster, is priceless. Remember Stingray? He's back, but when he tries to reintroduce himself at the dojo, Kreese humiliates him in front of everyone and kicks him out. Poor guy just can't catch a break. Meanwhile, it's prom night. Robbie and Tori decide to go together, and Uncle Silver, generous as ever, gives Robbie a car to use. The LaRusso and Diaz families get together for photos in a super cute moment that blends Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang, but the piece doesn't last long. At the dance, the two couples, Miguel and Sam, Robbie and Tori, stare each other down from across the room, creating that classic rival tension. Outside the party, the drama is in full swing. Robbie's mom tells Johnny that Silver is spoiling the kid, which sends Johnny into a rage. He goes to confront Silver at the old Cobra Kai dojo, but it's a trap. Silver lured Johnny there and proceeds to beat the crap out of him. Kreese is even shocked by the brutality, but stops the fight, reminding him of the no fighting before the tournament rule. Meanwhile, Daniel and Amanda get some counseling from Louis' sister, who's a psychologist. She basically tells them they're absentee parents and it's their fault Anthony is a jerk. Speaking of Anthony, Daniel catches him using his iPad while grounded, gets angry, and smashes the device. The night ends at an after party at Stingray's house. There, the tension that was brewing at prom explodes. Sam provokes Tori, and the resulting brawl ends with everyone in the pool. Miguel and Sam have a huge fight, and their relationship sours. To make things worse, Miguel finds a drunk Johnny at home, who, in a moment of vulnerability, says "I love you," but immediately follows it with Robbie's name. Miguel's heart shatters into a million pieces.
I love you. I love you too, Robbie.
To top it all off, a completely wasted Silver brutally beats up Stingray when he asks to join Cobra Kai again. It's tournament day. The 51st All-Valley Karate Championship begins with the three dojos in full rivalry mode: Miyagi-Do, Cobra Kai, and Eagle Fang. The first event is the skills competition, and Cobra Kai immediately takes the lead, driving Johnny crazy with Eagle Fang's 6th place finish. To liven things up, singer Carrie Underwood makes a surprise appearance for a performance, like a Super Bowl halftime show, but for karate. During the fights, Daniel notices something. The Cobra Kai students are using Miyagi-Do moves. He instantly realizes that Robbie was the mole and taught them everything. Daniel confronts his former student, who now only cares about winning, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Eli, formerly Hawk, was feeling down, but then Moon shows up, gives him a pep talk, they kiss, and get back together. With his confidence restored, Eli steps onto the mat and absolutely destroys Kyler. Sam shows she's evolving, mixing her dad's and Johnny's styles to win her match. The most intense moment is the fight between Robbie and Kenny. Kreese tells Robbie to stop holding back, and he obeys. Robbie attacks Kenny with a brutality that shocks everyone, including himself. The look of regret on his face after winning is palpable. The semifinals pit friend against friend, Miguel versus Eli. Daniel and Johnny, of course, argue over which style is better and give conflicting instructions to their fighters. The fight starts intensely. Miguel goes for one of his signature flying kicks, but mid-air, he feels a pull in his back and collapses onto the mat, screaming in pain. The tournament stops, and everyone is in shock.
I know you can. And I'm always gonna be right here next to you. Yes! I'm gonna be your sensei. Your sensei.
We open with Stingray waking up in the hospital, all busted up from the beating he took from Terry. Meanwhile, at the tournament, the doctor announces that Miguel's injury was just a pulled muscle. Johnny, in his classic dad mode, tells the kid to show his back who's boss. Back in the arena, it's Robbie versus Dimitri. Robbie is dominating, and a desperate Dimitri drops a Star Wars reference to explain how hard it is to fight him. Daniel offers some advice, but it's no use. Robbie wins and advances to the finals. While Kenny is cleaning his bloody nose, Anthony tries to apologize again for the bullying, but Kenny isn't having it. He attacks Anthony and only stops when Robbie intervenes. That's when it hits Robbie. He realizes he's turned the kid into a monster, a true Cobra Kai. Tori and Sam both win their matches, setting up a showdown in the grand female final. Kreese even tries to make small talk with Johnny, but gets shut down. He swears he didn't know Silver was going to beat Johnny up, but Johnny's not interested. The timer for Miguel's return hits 0. Since he's a no-show, he's disqualified. Eli advances to the finals by forfeit. The men's final is now Robbie versus Eli. Silver gets in Robbie's head, telling him he doesn't need anyone, while Daniel tells Eli to find his balance. The match is tied and goes to sudden death. Mid-fight, they both remove their GIs in a super dramatic moment. Roddy gets distracted by Kenny, and Eli seizes the opening, lands a kick, and becomes the men's champion.
Give him all you got.
Now it's the girls' turn. Daniel and Johnny finally make up and team up to coach Sam. Her fight against Tori is insane. At one point, Tori hits Sam in the eye, and Silver tells her to aim for the other one, but she refuses to fight dirty. Seeing this, Kreese has a flash of conscience. In the end, Tori wins clean, and Cobra Kai is the grand champion of the tournament.
Winner!
But the victory tastes bitter. Tori sees Terry Silver paying off the referee. The fight was rigged. At the same time, Silver frames Kreese, who gets arrested for assaulting Stingray. And for the grand finale, Daniel, though defeated, doesn't give up. He goes to Mr. Miyagi's grave and reveals his ace in the hole, none other than Chosen. The war is far from over.
Finally put an end to Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai is on top of the world. They've launched a TV commercial, inviting everyone in the valley to join the dojo that now rules all. Meanwhile, at the LaRusso house, Amanda gets the shock of her life when she finds Chosen skinny dipping in the pool. Daniel explains that he needed backup, since Silver is a much bigger threat. Far away, Miguel arrives in Mexico searching for his father. Right off the bat, he gets scammed by some surfers and loses his backpack. Across the border, Johnny also arrives in Mexico, dragging Robbie along. The mission? Find Miguel. And to blend in, Johnny bought them some Babe Inspector t-shirts. Classic. Back in the valley, Daniel announces the closure of Miyagi-Do, honoring the bet, but he assures his students that the dojo spirit lives on inside them. Sam blames herself for the loss, but Daniel takes responsibility. Miguel's search continues. He finds a guy named Hector, but discovers it's the wrong man. Meanwhile, Johnny and Robbie have a heart-to-heart in the middle of the road that ends with their van off the pavement. It's in this moment that Johnny opens up and admits he failed both boys. Robbie, seeing his father's regret, decides to stay and help. Daniel and Chosen go to spy on Cobra Kai. Chosen recognizes Terry Silver's moves and reveals they come from a disgraced master named Kim Sun-young, who taught a dirty style of fighting without honor or mercy. The plan now is to expose Silver, but to do that, Daniel will have to think like a snake. In the midst of all this, Miguel finally finds the real Hector Salazar. He saves the man's son from being run over and ends up invited to dinner. The trap is set. To close it out, Terry Silver announces announces that Cobra Kai is hiring new senseis and, to everyone's surprise, introduces Chosen as the newest member of the team. The mole is in. We open with a flashback to Okinawa. A young Chosen learns from his uncle Sato that a man without honor is nothing. This lesson will be very important. In the present, Chosen is already undercover at Cobra Kai, acting as a sensei and even training Tori, the champion. He tells her that honor is something you take for yourself, not from others. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Johnny and Robbie's road trip is getting more chaotic by the minute. To make some cash, Robbie enters a chili eating contest and, using Miyagi-Do breathing techniques, manages to win.
What were you chewing on, man?
Miguel is getting closer to Hector, who invites him to a night of MMA fights. He calls his mom, angry that she lied about his father being a good guy. Back in the valley, Tori confronts Silver about the bribe paid to the referee. Terry, cold as ever, says it was just an insurance policy and gives her an ultimatum: either stay and play by the rules or get out. Later, he invites Chosen to dinner at his mansion, completely unsuspecting. The climax in Mexico happens at the MMA arena. Johnny and Robbie arrive to rescue Miguel, and Hector, thinking they're from the FBI, panics. That's when his mask falls off. He tells Miguel he abandoned Carmen, has no regrets, and is basically a piece of trash. Miguel's dream of having a great dad crumbles. Heartbroken, he finally reunites with Johnny and Robbie. At Silver's mansion, the party's over. Terry reveals he knows exactly who Chosen is and calls in his new senseis for a fight. Bad idea. Chosen, by himself, takes them all down without breaking a sweat. He faces Silver and delivers a message. If he ever comes near the LaRusso family again, he'll be begging for mercy. The tables have officially turned. Back to a moment of calm, Daniel and Chosen are playing a quiet round of golf, but the peace is short-lived. Terry Silver, the ponytail-wearing villain, shows up out of nowhere to threaten Daniel, saying that if he keeps trying to sabotage Cobra Kai, things are going to get ugly. It's the kind of warning you don't ignore. Meanwhile, Miguel tries to play the perfect son and makes breakfast for the family, apologizing for his crazy trip. The problem is, the food doesn't sit well, and Carmen ends up throwing up. This leads to a bombshell revelation: she might be pregnant. Johnny, hearing the news, goes into full-on panic mode. The possibility of being a father again haunts him, since his track record with Robbie isn't exactly a shining example. Elsewhere, Sam and Miguel are living out a modern drama. The awkward text message exchange. With the help of their friends, who do more harm than good, the conversation becomes a how-to guide on not communicating. To make matters worse, Sam decides to try float therapy and ends up hallucinating that she's fighting dark versions of everyone she knows. Bizarre. Daniel, still paranoid about Silver, decides to track down a ghost from the past, Mike Barnes. He expects to find a villain, but instead finds a furniture store owner. Yes, the bad boy has become a family man, and even apologizes for the past. But the truce doesn't last. The episode ends with the inevitable breakup of Sam and Miguel, and with Silver cornering Daniel in a sauna, revealing he knows everything, and, to top it all off, burning down the newly reformed Mike Barnes' store. The guy is pure evil.
I warned you. I told you not to play with fire.
The drama now moves to a water park. Picture this: Miyagi-Do, Eagle Fang, and Cobra Kai all in the same place. It's the perfect recipe for disaster. The vibe between Sam and Miguel is super weird. Robbie tries to convince Tori to quit Cobra Kai, and Kenny immediately starts looking for Anthony to pick a fight. While the teens are settling their differences with bullying and poolside shoves, Daniel and Amanda are at a charity auction. And guess who shows up? Terry Silver, of course, acting like Daniel's best friend in front of Amanda, who starts to think her husband is overreacting. To earn some extra baby money, Johnny becomes a rideshare driver, but his explosive temper results in a collection of one-star reviews. Back at the park, tensions explode in a competition to see which dojo can dominate a water slide. Tori faces off against Hawk and wins, but only because someone punctured his floaty. The cheating leads to a full-blown brawl that gets everyone kicked out of the park. At the auction, Silver humiliates Daniel, who loses his cool and makes a scene, leaving Amanda furious and embarrassed. Robbie and Tori break up, and to complete the disaster, Amanda gets fed up with Daniel's obsession and decides to take a break, taking the kids with her. Daniel ends the episode completely alone, watching his life fall apart over a rivalry he can't let go of. Look who's back to stir up trouble. Stingray. He's back and completely loyal to Terry Silver, who rewarded him with a luxury apartment and even a car. His loyalty was bought, and bought well. Daniel, who's at rock bottom, receives an anonymous tip that Stingray lied in court. He and Chosen go to confront him, but Daniel gets heated and things get ugly, with him looking like that Charlie Day conspiracy board meme. Meanwhile, Johnny tries a masterstroke to get Miguel and Robbie to make peace, locking them in a makeshift escape room. The plan fails, so he moves on to plan B, letting them fight it out. The fight gets serious and nearly repeats the school staircase tragedy, but Miguel stops at the last second. It finally clicks.
Alright, that's it. Fight's over.
Why'd you hold back?
I didn't get into karate to hurt.
They hug it out, and Johnny, in the heat of the moment, lets it slip that he's having a baby.
Yeah, we're, having a baby. Nice.
Holy shit!
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Far away in Ohio, Amanda meets up with her cousin Jessica. Yes, that Jessica from Karate Kid Part 3, who confirms that Terry Silver has always been a psychopath. The conversation gets so intense, it ends in a bar fight where Sam shows off her skills and saves her mom.
You asked for it, bitch. Holy shit.
Jessica convinces Amanda to cut Daniel some slack. Back in LA, a devastated Daniel decides to surrender. He goes to Silver to concede, but the villain isn't interested in peace. He attacks Daniel and brutally beats him, making it clear that his plan is to take Cobra Kai global. In the end, a voiceover from Tori reveals the big twist. She's the one who sent the tip to Daniel and is now in contact with Kreese in prison, planning to take down Silver from the inside. The war is far from over.
There is an endgame, kid. Only he doesn't know it yet.
Terry Silver is in full expansion mode, like a Marvel villain buying out the competition. He brings in a new crew of senseis led by a woman named Kim Dae-yoon, who looks like she walked straight out of a Korean action movie. Their first mission, a hostile takeover of the Topanga Karate Dojo, where Devin now trains. Silver shows up and basically says, "You either put on a Cobra Kai gi, or you can grab your water bottle and get lost." Everyone flips sides except for Devin, who stands her ground. Meanwhile, Tori visits Kreese in prison. He's plotting an escape and asks her to keep the faith. Inside, Kreese is in Zen mode, even letting a brute steal his jello. He's playing 4D chess, waiting for the right moment. Back at the dojo, Sensei Kim makes Tori train with Devin. The two trade barbs, but eventually find a rhythm. On the other side of town, the good guys team is in crisis. Daniel got his ass kicked and threw in the towel, giving up the fight. Johnny wants revenge, Chosen wants a plan, and Amanda has to play babysitter to both of them. To make matters worse, Sam shows them a live stream of Silver taking over the new dojo. Johnny and Chosen head over there, but instead of fighting, they start a bizarre competition over who made fun of Daniel more in the past, and then who's his biggest fan now. It's hilarious. But the real plot twist is in Kreese's therapy session. He starts having crazy visions, reliving traumas, and talking to ghosts from his past. His ex-girlfriend, his army captain, and even Silver himself. It's a trip inside his mind, culminating in Kreese finally beating up the Jello guy. Or rather, his younger self beats everyone up, proving the old man still got it. In the end, Amanda, Robbie, and Sam manage to convince Daniel to come back. He arrives at Miyagi-Do to find everyone waiting for him, in a scene worthy of the Avengers. Cobra Kai is spreading through the valley faster than a meme on the internet. Daniel, Johnny, Chosen, and Amanda are in a war room, looking at a map and trying to figure out Silver's path to domination. Amanda then comes up with the craziest idea of all: ask Kreese for help. The look on Daniel and Johnny's faces is priceless. Meanwhile, at Miyagi-Do, the day's training is protecting an egg. Chosen turns into a ninja predator and takes out everyone's eggs, one by one. When all seems lost, Anthony, yes, Anthony, as a brilliant RPG RPG-inspired idea. If they work together, they can protect the eggs. And what do you know? It works. They form a circle, and Chosen can't get a single one. Score 1 for the nerds. Daniel and Johnny visit Kreese in prison, and the vibe is like a super awkward reunion of exes. Kreese only agrees to talk after Daniel offers him a lawyer. He reveals Silver's master plan to take Cobra Kai to the Sekai Taikai, the biggest karate tournament in the world. If they win, the brand goes global. At the Cobra Kai dojo, Sensei Kim holds a leadership test. Tori tries to protect Devin and is seen as weak. Kenny, on the other hand, after a straight talk with Silver, ignores Kyler and uses the jackass as a springboard to strike the sensei. Epic. Back in prison, after spilling the beans, Kreese waits for his reward. Daniel hands him a folded piece of paper. Kreese opens it, expecting the lawyer's contact info, but the message is different. No mercy, motherfucker. Daniel and Johnny list all the reasons they would never trust him, and simply walk away, leaving Kreese fuming. The organizers of the mega tournament Sekai Taikai arrive in town to evaluate Cobra Kai. Silver is in his best used car salesman mode, trying to impress the judges. But out of nowhere, Daniel, Johnny, and Chosen crash the party, demanding a chance for their students too. Surprisingly, the organizers agree to evaluate both dojos. The evaluation begins. Miyagi-Do showcases the beauty of tradition, and Eagle Fang, well, Sam kicks a watermelon that explodes in one of the judges' faces. And the guy loves it, even making a Rocky reference.
One break coming up.
Meanwhile, Cobra Kai shows off its high-tech dojo, which looks more like an Apple store for ass-kicking. The decision? A head-to-head matchup to see who qualifies. One male and one female fighter from each side, Kenny and Tori. Before the fight, Silver teaches Kenny a secret move, the Silver Bullet, a one-hit attack. The match starts, and it's obvious the ref is on the take. Kenny uses the dirty move and knocks out Hawk. Cobra Kai wins the first round.
Winner, Pain.
When it's the girls' turn, Tori mysteriously disappears. Devin steps in to fight Sam. The ref keeps making bad calls, but Daniel gives Sam a pep talk. Be so good they can't deny you. Sam goes into turbo mode, leaves no room for error, and wins.
Point. Winner, LaRusso.
The final result? Plot twist. Both dojos qualify. The organizers loved the show so much they decided to take everyone. To celebrate, there's a party at the LaRusso house, but Sam's joy is short-lived. She arrives ready to confess her feelings to Miguel, only to find him kissing another girl. Devastated, she leaves the house and runs right into Tori, and she's not there to fight. She drops the bombshell. Silver paid off the ref at the All Valley. Sam never really lost. Sam is pissed and wants to throw down, but Tori refuses to fight. When the whole crew finds out, Sam calls Tori a coward for not speaking up sooner, and Tori just bounces. Now that the truth is out, Miguel wants to tell the senseis, but Sam is afraid Daniel will get hurt again. Plan B, make Stingray confess. Meanwhile, at the Cobra Kai dojo, Sensei Kim has already figured out that Tori's excuse for leaving the exhibition was bogus. Silver vows that Daniel will pay, and speak of the devil, Robbie shows up to try and open everyone's eyes, telling Kenny to his face that Cobra Kai is a sham. It's no use. Later, Silver and Kim pressure Tori, ordering her to break a stone slab. She can't do it, and Kim taunts her, saying she cares more about Robbie. Tori gets so angry she throws a punch at the sensei, but Kim dodges, and Tori ends up shattering the stone in a fit of rage. In another corner of the city, Johnny is on cloud 9. Carmen has her first ultrasound, and he's going to be a dad again. The joy doesn't last long, because they run into Silver in the elevator. The villain congratulates Miyagi-Fang on their tournament spot, but now he also knows about the baby, making Johnny super protective. To unwind, the adults go out clubbing. There, Johnny and Chosen have a heart-to-heart. Johnny confesses he wants to forget the past and focus on the future with Carmen, and a half-drunk Chosen sends Kumiko a voice message declaring his love. The kids, meanwhile, corner Stingray. Using a crazy D&D metaphor, he confesses that Silver framed Kreese but says he's too scared to talk. Seeing it's a dead end, Sam seeks out Tori. The two, once mortal enemies, decide to team up. If the attack on Stingray happened at the old dojo, there must be a recording. The night ends with Daniel, Johnny, and Chosen being kidnapped inside the very limo they rented. And then we cut to something stomach-turning. We see Kreese in prison, getting stabbed by another inmate and apparently dying on the floor, all to the tune of Frank Sinatra's My Way. Is this the end of the original villain? Cut to the hijacked limo. The driver is none other than Mike Barnes, Daniel's old rival, who's furious because Silver ruined his life. After a brief misunderstanding, Johnny and Chosen join him, and the new power group decides to break into Silver's mansion to settle the score. The house turns into a battlefield. Meanwhile, the kids, led by Sam and Tori, break into the Cobra Kai dojo to steal the security camera footage. But they didn't count on one thing. Mitch was a spy the whole time and ratted them out. The result? A massive brawl between the Miyagi Fang and Cobra Kai students.
Yeah, I do.
At the mansion, the brawl is in full swing. Chosen and Silver engage in an epic sword fight. Chosen almost wins, but gets distracted for a second and takes a treacherous blow to the back. Johnny, fighting against multiple senseis, is getting his ass kicked until he sees the ultrasound picture of his baby. This gives him superhuman strength, and he turns the tide with a little help from Mike Barnes, who reappears in the nick of time. Back at the dojo, the Miyagi Fang crew uses the protect the egg tactic to buy Hawk and Dimitri time to upload the video, and they succeed. Just as Silver arrives, the video of him confessing the bribe to Tori appears on all the TVs. The Cobra Kai students instantly turn on him. With nowhere left to run, Silver challenges Daniel to one final fight. Using Silver's own techniques against him, Daniel ends the fight with a crane kick to the villain's face, knocking him out cold.
A man can't see. He can't fight.
The police arrive, Silver is arrested, and the couples Robbie, Tori, and Miguel Sam finally make peace. But just when we think it's all over, the twist. Kreese faked his own death with Jell-O and escapes from prison. After Silver's downfall, life seems like a feel-good commercial. Daniel, now at peace, wants to take his students to the Seikai Taikai, a world tournament, to honor Mr. Miyagi's legacy. At the dojo, the former rivals train together, but Sam and Tori still give each other side-eye. The peace is shattered when the students suggest a new name for the dojo, Miyagi Fang. Daniel hates the idea, Johnny loves it, and Chosen, to settle the dispute, suggests a fight between himself and Johnny. While the senseis prepare for their showdown, Robbie and Miguel attempt Mission Impossible, forcing a friendship between Sam and Tori on a super awkward double date at an arcade. There, they run into Kenny, alone and hurt. Robbie tries to reach out, but Kenny's older brother, Sean, fresh out of juvie, tells him to stay away. Daniel tries to convince Chosen to call off the fight and finds out his friend is down in the dumps because Kumiko hasn't returned his drunken phone call. Meanwhile, Johnny gets a tip from Stingray to just take the Cobra Kai name back for himself. On a basketball court, a fight breaks out with Sean, and to everyone's surprise, Sam and Tori fight side by side and actually get along. Seeing this, Sean advises Kenny to join Miyagi-Do so he doesn't end up like him. The truce between the girls inspires Daniel. On the day of the fight, he tells Chosen he agrees with Johnny's name. Moments later, Johnny arrives and also backs down, admitting that Daniel and Chosen made him a better sensei. With everyone at peace, Kenny is welcomed into the dojo, which now sports a new logo, an eagle flying over the bonsai, symbolizing their unity.
And a brand new patch.
But the calm doesn't last. In Korea, Kreese reemerges and informs Kim Da-yeon's students that Cobra Kai is back. In a flashback, we see a young Kreese and Terry Silver saying goodbye to South Korea and a young Kim Da-yeon. Her grandfather, a hard-as-nails master named Kim Sun-young, dislikes the interruption and gives Kreese a beatdown. Back in the present, Da-yeon is training, and Kreese arrives to form an alliance. Meanwhile, at the Diaz apartment, Miguel reads his Stanford application essay, and everyone loves it. The problem? A pipe bursts, flooding the place. Carmen vents that the family is growing, and El Serpiente's college tuition is too expensive. Johnny, ever the optimist, promises the Seikai Taikai prize money will solve everything. In Korea, Kreese and Da-yeon reminisce about the old days. He's shocked to discover that her grandfather, the ruthless old man from the flashback, is still alive. Kreese asks for the master's blessing to spread his legacy, but Kim Sun-young scoffs at him for focusing on prizes. Only after hearing that Johnny beat up his former students does the old man become impressed and orders Kreese to prove himself. himself. Back in the US, Miguel, Hawk, and Dimitri are at a college fair. The binary brothers dream of MIT, but Miguel faces a harsh reality. Stanford is too expensive. On campus, they run into Kyler and Brooks, the kid Hawk humiliated. Brooks says the beatdown changed him for the better and that he now studies at MIT, leaving Dimitri speechless. Later, at a frat party, Kyler is getting hazed. Miguel stands up for him and things escalate into a full-blown brawl. To everyone's surprise, Brooks jumps into the fray to help.
Bitch, don't you know I know karate? Get Brooks!
In parallel, Kreese, on a mission to find a dagger, gets bitten by a cobra and starts hallucinating. He fights a vision of Johnny, realizing he is his weakness. Inspired, he wakes up, kills the real snake, takes the dagger, and brings the snake's head as a trophy to Master Kim, who finally gives his approval. Oh, and Brooks? His MIT was just some technical college. Still, Miguel and Kyler's actions at the party earn them an invitation to a real fraternity. Seeing his family's financial situation, Johnny swallows his pride and accepts a job at Daniel's dealership. The gang is at the LaRussos for Carmen and Johnny's baby reveal party. While setting up, Miguel and Robbie notice that Sam and Tori are getting along. Suddenly, a mysterious box arrives, and Daniel and Johnny panic, thinking it's revenge from Kreese or Silver. In the end, it's just a false alarm. The reveal happens in a very Johnny way. He shows up with a pink-stained shirt. It's a girl.
Package came early.
Guess it's a girl.
In Korea, Kreese starts planting seeds of evil in Kim Dat-yoon's students. He observes Kwon, a rebellious kid, and Yoon, the model student. Kreese begins to manipulate Kwon, telling him that to win, you need heart, a clear hint to use his anger. At Miyagi-Do, Johnny complains that Sam and Tori's friendship has made them soft in their sparring. So, he has a brilliant idea, a slumber party. He convinces Devin to organize the event, hoping the atmosphere will force the two to fight again. Meanwhile, Daniel finds a secret box from Mr. Miyagi containing an old passport and a mysterious address. He, Amanda, and Chosen go to the location, a boxing gym, and discover that Miyagi not only fled to America, but also from America. At the slumber party, Johnny's plan goes into action. He steals Miguel and Robbie's phones and sends provocative texts to Tori and Sam, but the plan backfires spectacularly. The two figure out the setup, confront Johnny, and by talking it over, they end up truly understanding each other. They apologize and seal their friendship with a hug, much to Johnny's despair. In Korea, Kreese's manipulation pays off. Kwon challenges and defeats Yoon. The episode closes with a bombshell. The Sekai Taikai will be held in Barcelona, but each dojo can only bring 6 fighters, creating a new internal conflict. With the news of the Sekai Taikai in Barcelona, tension fills the dojo. Daniel and Johnny announce they will hold a brutal tryout to select the 6 representatives. Only the best of the best will go. Panic sets in and Kenny immediately starts taunting Anthony, telling him he doesn't stand a chance. To help with the selection, Daniel calls in some heavy artillery, Mike Barnes, the bad boy of karate and his former rival. Barnes arrives and immediately cranks up the intensity with a brutal training regimen focused on speed, endurance, and strength. After the first phase, 12 fighters remain, including the favorites and a few surprises, like Anthony. The second phase is a battle royale where everyone has to steal flags from each other. In the midst of the chaos, Kenny hits Anthony with a powerful strike and breaks his nose. In the end, Sam, Miguel, Robbie, and Tori secure their spots. 4 fighters are tied for the last 2 places: Devin, Hawk, Kenny, and Dimitri. The decision will come down to one final test. Meanwhile, Johnny confronts Mike, thinking he's being too hard on Devin. The conversation turns into a fight, and Johnny knocks Barnes out. Afterward, Barnes admits that returning to karate has helped him get back on his feet. The final test is a race through the forest. The 4 finalists need to grab 2 flags. Along the way, Devin and Kenny face off, but Kenny suddenly feels sick and runs into a bathroom. Devin easily grabs a flag. Hawk and Dimitri fight for the other, and Dimitri wins. The qualifiers are Devin and Dimitri. Kenny accuses Anthony of putting a laxative in his water, but the truth is something else. It was Devin. She used Mitch's laxatives to take Kenny out of the running and hid the evidence. With the team set, Daniel and Johnny realize that even with a strong lineup, they have no idea what awaits them in Barcelona. Tori thinks things are finally falling into place. She picks up her mom's prescription, who seems to be doing better, and even turns down an offer from Kreese to return to Cobra Kai, saying she's good at Miyagi-Do. But this calm is just the prelude to the the storm. At the dojo, the gang celebrates Aisha getting into college, but Miguel is down because he hasn't heard back from Stanford. Meanwhile, Robbie and Tori train together. The mood heats up and they share a kiss. Romance is in the air, but so is trouble. Daniel and Johnny decide the team captains will be determined by a fight. Miguel versus Robbie and Sam versus Tori. But the sensei's partnership is already souring. Daniel doesn't like Johnny's methods and complains to Amanda. The situation only gets worse. Tori arrives home to find her mother unconscious. At the hospital, the news is the worst possible. Her mom died from a blood clot. Tori is devastated and furious with the doctor. At the captaincy fight, chaos erupts. Robbie beats Miguel after seeing a completely shaken Tori arrive. When Sam and Tori are about to fight, Tori's aggression is off the charts. The hospital calls, Amanda answers, and the truth comes out. A shattered Tori abandons Miyagi-Do. This is the last straw for Daniel and Johnny's final argument. Johnny accuses Daniel of not understanding Tori's pain, and the discussion gets so heated that he insults Mr. Miyagi. Daniel can't take it and punches Johnny in the face. The partnership is over. They agree to stick together only until the end of the tournament. To cap it all off, the team arrives in Barcelona and comes face to face with Cobra Kai. And guess who's with them? Tori herself. What a twist. Welcome to Barcelona, where the drama never takes a vacation. Robbie tries to talk to Tori about her rejoining Cobra Kai but gets shut down. To make matters worse, he and Dimitri lose their hotel rooms in a bet and have to share a room with Miguel and Hawk. The Miyagi-Do crew is pissed at Robbie when they find out he knew Kreese had talked to Tori before her mom died. To complete the trifecta of misery, Tori asks for a break, saying they need to focus on the competition. While the students stress out, the senseis decide to drink. Daniel, Johnny, and a drunk and heartbroken Chosen, apparently Kumiko is with someone else, get kicked out of an event after Johnny almost gets into a fight with another sensei. The tension is real. The next day, the tournament begins with the Captain's War event, which is basically a karate version of Protect the President. Miyagi-Do faces Cobra Kai and 2 other teams, but Robbie's mind is on Tori. He messes up badly in the fight, and his team gets eliminated from the round. But if you think Cobra Kai was going to dominate, think again. After eliminating another team, Tori, Quan, and Yoon face the Iron Dragons alone, a team from Hong Kong that still has all 6 of its fighters in the arena. The Dragons' captains, a sinister duo named Zara and Axel, simply demolish the Cobra Kai trio without breaking a sweat. It seems there are new and much more dangerous players in town.
Welcome to Barcelona, bitch.
The Miyagi-Do team is completely lost, with a terrible performance, and 1 step away from elimination. To make things worse, Daniel receives a mysterious message from someone named Serrano, who claims to have known Mr. Miyagi, and he goes looking for answers. But obviously, it's a trap. He's kidnapped by a group of men, one of whom has a Cobra Kai tattoo. With Daniel out of commission, it's up to Johnny to become the head coach. The tension in the locker room is immense, with Miguel calling out Robbie, who is letting his problems with Tori affect his fighting. In the midst of the chaos, Devon confesses to Johnny that she cheated on the tryout to get on the team, but he encourages her to do her best. And what do you know? It works. Miyagi-Do advances to the next round thanks to a spectacular victory by Miguel against 2 fighters at once. He basically saves the team from elimination. But the joy is short-lived. Right after the fight, Miguel and Johnny get a call. Carmen is in the hospital with pregnancy complications. Without a second thought, they both drop everything and head home in the middle of the tournament. The situation is desperate. Daniel has been kidnapped. Johnny and Miguel, who was the only one winning, had to leave in a hurry. The rest of the team, already shaken and fighting among themselves, is left completely alone in Barcelona. After Miguel bolts, Johnny enters panic mode and asks Amanda to call Kenny, trying to convince the kid to join the team. But Kenny couldn't care less. He still thinks Anthony sabotaged him with the laxative. On the plane, the mood is heavy between Miguel and Johnny, with Miguel throwing it in his sensei's face that he didn't support him at the tournament. Meanwhile, Zara is dying of jealousy over the attention Tori is getting, and, to make things worse, ends up sleeping with Robbie after he gets wasted at a bar. Tori catches them kissing the next morning.
My head is pounding.
What a great way to start the day. Amanda tries to get Anthony to apologize to Kenny, but the conversation turns into a fight. Johnny and Miguel finally make peace after Miguel punches an obnoxious passenger on the plane. Nothing like a little assault to bring people together. On the beach, Sam and a guy named Axel meet. He tries to kiss her but gets shot down when he finds out she has a boyfriend. In another corner of the love drama world, Yasmin breaks up with Dimitri because Hawk accidentally shows her a video of him dancing with a Spanish girl. Feeling guilty for seeing Hawk pissed at Dimitri, Devon decides to come clean. She calls Kenny and confesses that she was the one who put the laxative in his drink. With the truth revealed, Kenny forgives Anthony and agrees to go to Barcelona. To top it all off, Chosen and Dayun have a moment, and together with Daniel and Kreese, they discover that Sensei Wolf and the goon who kidnapped Daniel work for Terry Silver. A flashback to 3 months earlier shows Silver hiding out in Bangkok to evade the police. His lawyer manages to clear his name, and Silver hires Sensei Wolf, promising to pay off his debts in exchange for buying the Iron Dragon's dojo to humiliate Miyagi-Do at the Sekai Taikai. Back in the present, we learn that Daniel's kidnapper was Dennis, one of Mike Barnes' old cronies. Johnny returns to Barcelona with Miguel and Kenny, who replaces Devon. Speaking of whom, Devon apologizes to Kenny, and they make peace, but Hawk and Dimitri don't trust the newcomer, thinking he's a spy for Silver, and they refuse to pass him the baton in a relay event, causing the team to lose. Silver even tries to recruit Kenny, but the kid flips him the bird and helps Miyagi-Do win the next event.
Miyagi-Do moves to 1-1. If they win their next match, they advance to...
Come on, baby! Let's go. Good job.
To mess with Kreese, Johnny and Chosen steal his dagger and leave a spa voucher in its place, framing Silver. The plan works. Kreese goes ballistic and attacks Silver. Da-Yoon confronts Chosen, demanding he return the dagger. In the elimination round, Tori confronts Robbie about Zara, and he discovers that Quan tricked him to break them up. At the deciding point, Robbie defeats Quan, qualifying Miyagi-Do and eliminating Cobra Kai.
Point! Miyagi-Do wins! Incredible!
In the end, Silver hands Daniel an envelope with proof that Mr. Miyagi killed an opponent during a Sekai Taikai. Daniel has a nightmare where he fights a younger version of Mr. Miyagi, who says he never told him the whole truth because Daniel wasn't strong enough. The tournament director Gunther confirms that Silver's story is true. Cobra Kai was already packing to go home, but gets a second chance when the Russian dojo, Tiger Strike, is disqualified for doping. The Tournament of Champions begins. Duels, only between the captains. Zara from Iron Dragons win easily. In the fight between Robbie and Axel, Robbie is pushed into the Cobra Kai students, and Quan lands a treacherous elbow to his ribs. Miguel tries to help and is taken down by Axel, who is jealous of him for dating Sam. Director Gunther tries to break up the fight, but is knocked out by Sensei Ivanov from the Russian team. Then all hell breaks loose. A massive brawl erupts. It's Johnny and Daniel versus Wolf, Robbie versus Quan, Tori versus Zara, and Miguel versus Axel. In the midst of the chaos, Kreese goes after Silver with his dagger, but loses it. They fight hand to hand, and Silver is about to win when Johnny shows up to save his old sensei. Suddenly, Quan attacks Sam, but Axel abandons his fight with Miguel to defend her. Quan then finds the lost dagger and lunges at Axel, but Axel dodges and lands a flying kick, causing Quan to fall on the knife and be fatally wounded in the chest. Everyone is in shock. The director orders the TV broadcast to be cut. After the brawl at the Sekai Taikai, Kwan's funeral is held in South Korea, and the mood is heavy. Back at Cobra Kai training, Sensei Son Young forces Yoon to brutally beat up his own teammates. It seems the no mercy philosophy is back in full force. Meanwhile, back in the valley, Robbie is struggling to get into college, and Daniel remains traumatized by what happened in Barcelona. The guy just can't move on, but someone who isn't wasting any time is Silver. He goes after Gunther, the head of the Sekai Taikai, and convinces him to resume the tournament. Gunther agrees, but on one condition: all the senseis must consent. That's when things get heated. Johnny says, "I'm in immediately," but Daniel refuses to participate. To make matters worse, Kreese informs Sun Young that Cobra Kai is also out. Seeing his plan go down the drain, Silver plays dirty. He seeks out Johnny to have him find a way to convince Daniel. A tense meeting between the three takes place, and Silver drops a bombshell. He has a terminal illness and just wants one last victory before he dies. It's an emotional blackmail card, and what do you know? It works. A move Daniel finally agrees to return. Far away, Da-yoon gets tired of being number 2, and in a move worthy of a soap opera villain, kills her own grandfather. Shortly after, she vows to use a more peaceful teaching method. The irony is so thick, it's almost funny. To wrap things up, Kreese decides to return to the valley, saying he has unfinished business to attend to. The Seikai Taikai announces that the rest of the tournament will take place in the valley, giving Miyagi-Do a home field advantage. To prepare, Hawk and Dimitri, the nerdy duo of the group, create an AI training simulation for Robbie to face Axel. Even so, Robbie is still shaken by the fight in Barcelona until Miguel shows up to give him a motivational speech and lift his friend's spirits. Meanwhile, Sam seeks out Tori, not just to train together, but also to try and convince her to return to the tournament. During their conversation, Sam reveals she's thinking of taking a year off from college to go to Japan. Looks like someone is on a journey of self-discovery. In another part of town, Shozen gets brutally friend-zoned by Kumiko, who tells him she only sees him as a friend. To try and cheer him up, Daniel and Amanda set him up on a date with Moon's mom, Winnie. The result? A complete disaster, worthy of a rom-com gone wrong, but the award for the most chaotic day goes to Johnny. He finally musters the courage to propose to Carmen, but right at that moment, her water breaks. Perfect timing, not. At the hospital, everything happens at once. They get married in an impromptu ceremony officiated by Bobby, Johnny's old friend, and right after, Carmen gives birth to a baby girl, Laura, named after Johnny's mother. All the dojos prepare for the resumption of the Seikai Taikai, but one question hangs in the air. Will Cobra Kai actually show up? Kreese goes to see Tori, and in a moment of redemption, apologizes for everything he put her through, including Kwan's death. He reveals he only reinstated the dojo so she could have a chance to win. On the day of the semi-finals, he tries to make peace with Johnny but gets rejected. The fight between Robbie and Axel finally resumes. The first round is super close, but in the second, Axel figures out Robbie's strategy and easily dominates him. To top it off with a flourish of cruelty, he breaks Robbie's knee and advances to the finals. It was brutal.
What's wrong with you? My knee! Medic!
Next up, it's Sam's turn to fight Tori, but she freezes and decides not to compete. Daniel supports his daughter. He had a bizarre dream about Mr. Miyagi saving him from skeletal bullies, a clear allusion to Johnny and his gang from the 80s, which reminded him that the purpose of karate is to avoid having to fight. With Sam's withdrawal, the entire Miyagi-Do dojo drops out of the tournament, and Axel is about to be declared the champion. But the story isn't over yet. In a moment no one saw coming, Johnny and Kreese finally leave the past behind and embrace. And then comes the plot twist. Johnny retakes control of Cobra Kai, naming Tori and Miguel as captains. Kreese relinquishes his position in favor of Johnny, to the complete shock and fury of Silver and his henchman, Wolf. The game has been turned on its head in the most unbelievable way. Daniel decides to play the rich guy and buys the old Cobra Kai dojo for Johnny to train Miguel and Tori for the Seikai Taikai finals. Johnny gives Miguel a fatherly talk, telling him the truth. After everything he's been through, he has to fight for himself first and foremost. In the finals, Cobra Kai's plan is to close the point gap with a team called the Iron Dragons. The first fight is the women's division, and Zara, Tori's rival, starts with taunts and easily wins the first round. Then Robbie arrives to give some moral support. They even share a kiss, and that's enough for Tori to turn the fight around. She goes into turbo mode, focuses, and simply knocks Zara out.
Welcome to the valley.
In the men's final, Miguel surprises everyone by winning the first round against a guy named Axel, but the evil sensei, Wolf, brainwashes Axel, who comes back with a vengeance and wins the second round. Then Wolf shows he's a true villain and orders Axel to break Miguel's back, but Axel has a shred of decency, refuses to become a monster, and Miguel ends up winning the fight. As a bonus, Axel quits the Iron Dragons on the spot, disgusted by his sensei's tactics. With the score tied, the champion dojo will be decided by a fight between the senseis. Meanwhile, Silver is on his yacht plotting evil deeds and sends his henchman Dennis to kidnap Carmen and her daughter. But who shows up to crash the party? Kreese. He dispatches Dennis and goes after Silver. The fight is ugly, and a fuel container gets knocked over in the chaos. Silver manages to immobilize Kreese and starts to choke him, but Kreese, in one last boss move, grabs the lit cigar that had fallen and throws it into the fuel. The result? An action movie-worthy explosion that takes the yacht, Silver, and Kreese with it. Game over for them. Johnny is preparing for the fight of his life against Sensei Wolf, with Daniel and Chosen in his corner. Daniel, in his wise mode, drops a pearl of wisdom. Win or lose, Johnny has already won at life because he now has a family. After the inspiring talk, it's time to train. On the day of the fight, Wolf goes to the locker room just to provoke Johnny. He tries to punch the guy, but Wolf defends without breaking a sweat and continues his mind games, saying he's going to destroy him and his family. Meanwhile, in a cute moment, Dimitri and Yasmin make up and get back together. In the sensei fight, Wolf starts strong, scoring 2 points with illegal blows that wear Johnny down. Things are looking bad, but then Daniel channels the spirit of Cobra Kai and gives a speech that ignites a fire in Johnny, filling him with the confidence to turn the tables. Johnny and Wolf trade heavy blows until Johnny lands the winning strike. That's it. Cobra Kai is the grand champion of the Seikai Taikai.
Get over here. You're right, Lawrence.
Sometime later, we see Johnny moving into a new house with Carmen and their baby girl, Laura. Life goes on. Miguel, Sam, Robbie, Tori, Hawk, and Dimitri continue on their own paths. Chosen returns to Korea to meet with Da-yoon. And to end on a high note, Johnny and Daniel are now partners, teaching the Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do styles together to their students, in a mix no one ever expected. 69. Now let's go back to 1985 again in a flashback of Mr. Miyagi telling Daniel the secret history of Miyagi-Do. It turns out his family's karate didn't just appear out of nowhere. A Miyagi ancestor ended up in China, was saved by a family of kung fu masters, the Hans, and trained with them. When he returned to Okinawa, he blended the two arts, and voila, Miyagi-Do was born. Basically, Daniel's karate has a long-lost Chinese cousin. Cut to present-day China. We need Li Fong, the grandnephew of the aforementioned Master Han. The kid is a kung fu prodigy, but is deeply traumatized because his older brother Bo was murdered by a rival after a tournament. His mother, a doctor, decides that's enough of martial arts, lands a job in New York, and takes Lee with her, forbidding him from fighting. In New York, the culture shock is immense. Lee is bullied at his new school until he meets Mia, the daughter of an ex-boxer who owns a pizzeria. Sparks fly, but her ex-boyfriend Connor, the local karate champion, doesn't like it one bit and starts provoking Lee. In a confrontation, Lee tries to use the dragon kick, his brother's move, but gets the worst of it and is humiliated in front of everyone. Things get serious when some goons working for O'Shea, the owner of Connor's dojo, try to extort money from Mia's father. Lee uses his kung fu to save the man, who is inspired and decides to return to boxing. But in his comeback fight, his opponent plays dirty, and Mia's father ends up in a coma. Lee freezes, reliving the trauma of his brother, and then gets an earful from his mother at the hospital. Seeing his nephew at his lowest, Master Han flies to NY. He convinces Lee to enter the city tournament, not for revenge, but to find balance. And for that, he calls in some serious backup. Daniel LaRusso, the dream crossover.
Excuse me. I came looking for you.
Together, the two masters train Lee, blending kung fu with Miyagi-Do defense. They even create a new version of the dragon kick, the tiger trap.
Show us the tiger trap. Under the kick. Sweep the leg.
At the tournament, the final is Lee versus Connor. Connor dominates at first, fights dirty, and gets a 4-0 lead. But Lee adapts, starts to turn the tide, and ties the score at 7-7. For the final point, Lee fakes the dragon kick. Connor, thinking he knows the move, falls for the bait. Lee dodges, sweeps the leg, and lands a clean kick, winning the match. Connor still tries a cowardly attack, but Lee takes him down again and, instead of finishing him, shows mercy. For the first time, the villain bows in respect. In the end, everything works out. Mia's father gets better, Lee's mother supports him, and in Los Angeles, Johnny suggests to Daniel that they open a pizzeria dojo called Miyagi-Do.